All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Uh,
Hello, everyone.
yeah. So I guess this is starting out for both of our streams, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
would you like to go ahead and introduce it on your side, or however you'd like to
Um,
intro?
yeah, sure. So welcome back to the stream, everyone. This is our first one since like a month and a half now. We're doing a discussion stream today. We're going to be discussing the idea of cancel culture and free speech and comedy and all that.
Yeah. Agreed. And I just want to go ahead and start by saying thank you for being willing to talk to me. I know I'm definitely a smaller streamer, or whatever creator, whatever this
Mhm.
is. And yeah, so I think it's really awesome that not only were you willing to talk to me, but we obviously don't see eye to eye on this.
Mhm.
So it's really awesome that you're willing to talk. I think that's
Yeah,
really cool. I think that's kind of a rare thing these days.
yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And then yeah, I wanted to give you a couple compliments. I know you kind of see me in your comment section before, and then
Mhm.
I guess this started because you came to my comment section. But yeah, I thought those videos that you did on the Southland Tales was just awesome. They
Oh,
were
thanks, man.
way up my alley, and it really kind of got my interest back into that. It's a weird flick that, like, I don't know who starts a movie on part four, and then you've got to read three parts in comic books to actually like kind of understand what's going on.
Right, right.
It's just weird as hell. So that
No,
was
yeah,
awesome that you happened to cover that in a bunch of videos. That was really cool.
yeah. No, it was a lot of fun, man. It's been a while since I've like just gave myself over to something like that, and it was a blast. I'm looking forward to doing it again on the next one.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I thought that new series that you just did, Respect the Craft, I think is
Mhm.
what you're calling it. I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. That's a really cool idea, taking a look at songs that aren't well respected and kind of dissecting them. That's really awesome, man. I think
Yeah,
that's a really cool
thanks.
concept. I'm looking forward to your next one.
Desk grips. Be ready for it.
Oh, that's awesome, actually.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. So yeah, I guess we're kind of talking today because
Mhm.
you had commented on my talk with Bob. And
Right.
it was kind of I don't know. You had a few comments in there. I think we kind of went back and
Yeah,
forth a little
yeah.
bit.
No, see, for me, like this is it's a slightly frustrating conversation in my opinion, for it to even be had, right? Because fundamentally, nobody can take your free speech away except the government. Period.
Yeah,
Nobody
no,
else
for
can
sure.
do it, right? So therefore, cancel culture to me is just like made up, intellectualized rich people bitching, right? Because ultimately it comes from media figures, it comes from comedians, right? It comes from artists who essentially make it their job to be public figures, right? They are choosing to make their private lives part of their part of their professional lives, because a lot of it, whether you like, whether anybody wants to agree with it or not, we do judge our artists on their actions and stuff like that. And I mean, it goes both ways, right? A lot of your favorite bands, I bet you know a lot about their personal lives. I bet you know a lot about like how that informed the songs and things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. That's because inherently we do attach our personal feelings a lot to the artists that we respect. So when an artist chooses to speak totally out of pocket, they are risking losing the audience. They are choosing to do that. And if the
They could
audience
be.
chooses to not follow them, I don't understand how that is in any way cancel culture. It seems like a transaction to me. I am no longer going to be the kind of person you're going to like. Hey, what's up? What's up, Dub and G? And I don't think there's anything wrong with the audience turning around and saying, "Okay, you can be that. You nobody. I cannot take your free speech away, so you can go do that wherever you want. I'm just not going to support you."
And I think you definitely can do that. I think anyone, has the right to vote with their dollars for sure. And I think, comedy is kind of I guess it's kind of like a tightrope act. You are walking that line of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. It's, it's kind of a hard thing to say, like, what exactly is acceptable and what isn't. The line does seem to be moving. It seems to be moving all the time, and
Right.
the audience seems to be the judge of it. And that's why I think comedy is a slightly different art. I understand what you're saying, that, like, it's not the government coming in and trying to censor these people, which is awesome. I mean, I think we're all for that. Like, that
Right.
would be very totalitarian. That would be getting into like
Exactly.
Germany, like World War II.
Mhm.
That wouldn't be a good thing. We definitely don't want that. But comedy seems a little bit different. You have that barometer, and it is supposed to be that room. It is what the audience is going to say. And if they laugh at
Mhm.
that joke, it was successful. And if they don't, it wasn't successful. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to then try and make sure that they can never perform again or,
But what does that mean to you though? What does it mean? Because I mean, yes, there's been social media campaigns and all that, and I'm not going to deny that. But more often than not, it just seems like they just pissed off too many people to continue being as successful as they used to be. And that just seems organic to me. It just seems like these
I don't know
dudes
about
are
that.
gotten. I mean, you have to understand too, man. Like the audience is changing, right?
For sure.
You and I, we grew up in the '90s. In the '90s, being like kind of coming at comedy from this like edgy sort of perspective and stuff like that had a place. I love that shit. I'm not going to sit here and say that I still don't enjoy that because I do, right? But at the same time, I understand why that's not like cool. And sure, like I could enjoy it and I could have my complicated feelings about it. I wouldn't want them to continue doing this content. And frankly, like a lot of these comedians feel the same way. I mean, if you look at just South Park, right? Like
Yeah.
they're still edgy, they're still offensive, they still
Well,
do a lot, but they're
I
just not.
really like their philosophy on it, though.
Hmm.
They've made a couple different episodes on it, but either everything's okay or nothing's okay.
Sure,
It's
but then the question becomes. I mean, my question for you is, like, what does the comedian? What are they owed? What are they owed for putting themselves out there and trying these offensive jokes, these controversial jokes and stuff like that? Because I think they are definitely owed the opportunity to try that humor out, and they are definitely owed the respect to see how that might fit in an artistic context. But I think that's where it ends. If someone comes to the conclusion that like, okay, I've given you the respect to do that, I still think you're not funny, and I still think you're just offensive for the sake of being offensive. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to support you. I don't see how that's inorganic.
no, and I'm not arguing that anyone couldn't do that. Like,
Mhm.
that's your free speech. The comedian has the free speech as well. They have
Right.
the right to say that.
Mhm.
But that contract that you have by going into that club is, I'm going to give you the opportunity to try to make me laugh. And part of that is you might fail.
Yes.
So I don't believe that you would then have the right to do a heckler's veto or start
Sure.
shouting down the comedian.
Mhm.
That seems completely out of place. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
there are some clubs that do allow heckling, but for the most part, you do it at your own risk, and you're probably going to get kicked out because it's just not what's expected at that show.
Right.
And then some of the cancellations that have happened, somebody has either recorded a piece of a set from a show or they've reported it back. Like there was no actual recording of like the Tracy Morgan thing. Just some journalists said this is exactly what he said. It's a little tough.
Yeah.
Are they really like a stenographer, or could they have possibly misinterpreted it? Does it have the same delivery? It's just not the same thing to then take it outside of that club and try and get them canceled or prevented from being able to go back to the club. I don't
Yeah.
think you have the right to say like my sensibility is the only thing that matters here.
Right. Yeah. And especially if you're going to comedy, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was listening to your debate with Bob, and you were talking about these battles, these rap battles, all
Oh
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I love the roast battles, man.
right. Yeah. And in places like that, you could be a white guy and call a black dude an N-word, right?
Yeah,
There is
I
more
guess I have
allowance
seen
than
that.
that.
Oh,
Sure,
for sure. You
exactly.
know what you're getting into. There's
Right,
no
right.
holds barred. This is going to be
In
offensive.
that context,
No pity. Yeah.
right? In that context, when those things are decided to be put aside, if anybody goes into that situation, like yes, especially, and that in and of itself, is fine, right? Because everybody's in agreement there. But like, I think the overall thing here is that, sorry man, I kind of fucking lost my point here. Let me just reset here. I think the overall point, right, is that the main job of comedy is to be funny. I mean, you can be
Yeah.
funny in many ways, including ways that are incredibly philosophical and deep, right? We've seen that with Hicks, we've seen that with Carlin, and you can also be Gallagher and smash a fucking watermelon on screen. And that's all
So
equal comedy.
I
You
did
know?
kind of want to talk to you about that because your comment from before, It's hilarious to me how people who consider philosophy gay treat comedy as a bastion for ideological discussion when fucking ventriloquists and watermelon smashing are valid expressions of comedy.
Right. Yeah. And
that was one of the comments that you left on the thing. I don't know. That seems so reductive to like take everything that Gallagher did. So I'm not the biggest fan of him, but like,
Sure.
I don't know. Did you watch any of his specials or anything?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
he was
no,
kind of the generation before us.
No. Yeah, I used to
Like,
watch his. I usually watch his stuff back in the day for sure. Yeah.
I mean, he did have the Sledge-O-Matic and like that giant couch and stuff. Like, he had some weird stuff. There was definitely some prop action going on there, but you know, like he had some deeper things. Like there was some really cool stuff that he did about like the meaning of words, and
Sure.
I don't know. That bit like always got to me. And
Yeah,
then I
well,
guess he
I'm not-
got really political at the end. I don't
Yeah.
know, just you know, to just like reduce that down to like this is the worst kind of comedy.
I'm not trying. I wasn't trying to like say that there's some sort of like scale of what is quality. What I'm trying to
okay,
say,
fair
right?
enough.
What I'm trying to say is that the types of comedians that sort of take this attitude and take this stance, right, are the types of people who think they're Carlin, you know, even though they're making pee pee poo poo jokes, right? Like you know, they think that because they are a comedian and because they have an opinion that they are on that level of Carlin. And I think it's actually really reductive that we treat every comedian who has something to say that is mildly interesting about society or comedian or society or politics or anything like that, like as if you know they're trying to like as if they're on that same level when there's so much more to what made those comics so great, you know. I think more often than not, like everybody wants to be Carlin. A lot of these comedians want to be as important as Carlin, right? So they want to intellectualize this shit when ultimately, primarily, comedy is just meant to be funny. And if it's intelligent and if it's insightful, that's even better. That's great. But a lot of these guys like want to like sit down and like, you know, be like, oh yeah, so I can't sell as many tickets as I could last year. That's fucking cancel culture because I'm an important comedian who is doing this great important artwork. And look, I'm not belittling the art of comedy at all. Like it is an art. It is an important piece of art. You know, it is important art form. But you know, so is like music. And I'm pretty sure that like pee pee poo poo pants, like MC Chris over here, doesn't consider himself Radiohead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if I quite agree. Like, what comedian is not selling as much and saying that that's cancel culture?
All of them.
Like
Jim Brewer. Let's start there. Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer. I honestly don't remember much except for like Goat Boy.
Right, yeah, but
I've
he was
seen
big
him,
in the 90s. He was big in the 90s, right? He was
Yeah,
well,
I remember he had like an AC/DC thing, like I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or something
well, I
like
mean,
that.
I remember even in the 2000s, his comedy Metallica, like that was something me and my friends said because yeah, he was
Yeah.
even into the 2000s. He was doing pretty
No,
well.
for sure. Guess I just haven't been hearing him claiming that like cancel culture
Well,
is why he's not selling.
right.
'Cause
That's the thing. He
Well,
amongst a lot of
know
people,
that he just did a special, and I'm pretty sure he's selling out like pretty hardcore with most of the clubs.
yeah, but the clubs are like 500 seaters, dude.
Like, he
You
was
know?
just on Joe Rogan like I don't know a week and a half ago. I'm
Right.
pretty sure he just sold out at the mothership. Like
That's great.
I don't
That's
know.
great.
I'm not
That's
sure.
fantastic.
I haven't ever heard him say that. You know, he's not
Oh, no,
selling
well,
because
he's
of cancel
definitely-
culture.
Well, I mean, does he have to say it? He's like, look at the venues he's playing compared to the venues he used to play. You know, like they're significantly smaller.
I think like
know, like,
the
it's great
top
that he's-
venue that anyone can play right now is kind of the mothership. Like,
Yeah, and that's-
you
and
understand
that's
that they're like $700 tickets. Like even if it
No,
is
no,
like
I
a kind of a small
understand.
club, like
Yes.
he's making bank off of that. Like Joe Rogan has huge business out there in Austin.
Yeah, hey, that's great. I am not knocking Jim Brewer's success, but that comedy was recorded a year or two ago. All right, and let's be honest here. He also just got signed on to Crowder's. I think he's with Crowder now and shit like that. So he's already
Is
in
he?
that sort of Rogan pipeline. Yeah, I think he's replacing that Landau guy. But yeah, he is sort of part of that thing. So it makes sense. And you know, as a Joe Rogan fan, I'm sure that you've heard the whole Rogan bump that as soon as you go on Rogan, it gets you huge. It blows you up huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it definitely has a bump. He is like the highest podcast out there, definitely the highest one on Spotify. I'm
Right.
pretty sure still the most listened to. But yeah,
Mhm.
It definitely gives a bump. Like every comedian that's been on there. So I don't listen to every episode or anything like that. But if I see a guest that I want to listen to, I do listen to it. But every comedian that I've heard been on there, they talk about that huge bump. I know. I like hearing Dave Smith. Every time he's on there, he says there's a huge, Rogan bump. So,
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not hearing any of those guys particularly claim that.
Which is interesting, right? Are those newer comics?
No, like
Oh, they're not. Okay.
no, I don't think Rogan really has new guys on that often.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, man. But like for me, I find that sort of cancel culture, complaining bullshit that's coming exclusively from dudes in the 90s, like maybe dudes in the early 2000s who were a big deal and all that shit. And these are guys who often like probably took a huge long break from comedy and are coming back and seeing, I don't know how they didn't see this coming, but yeah, the attitudes of society and the audience has changed. And they have a hard time dealing with that. They have a hard time understanding, hey, making fun of the mentally disabled is not cool no more, And I think, these are people who are rich.
Who is this fictional comedian that you're talking about, though? Like this, who's this 90s guy who's still calling people retards?
I'm talking, bro. I'm talking like all of them. I'm talking pretty much every single 90s comedian. Because notice the sort of 90s comedian.
So Dave Attell is doing that? Right
I haven't heard Dave Attell the thing. Well, Dave Attell's a totally different thing, right? Because he's always been part of that sort of offensive style.
He's a 90s comedian.
Yes, and he's always played specifically to that audience and shit, right? It's sort of like a cult following with him. There aren't a whole lot of new Dave Attell fans. Let's be real here,
The way that I've heard like cancel culture talked about would be like, Kathy Griffin. Like she held up that Trump head. She got canceled. She couldn't get booked. Every like part of that tour was canceled. I think she said it was like 2 years before she could actually, get a job again.
So in other words,
I don't know that that's her saying like the crowd is just wrong. Like she noted that she did something offensive.
Yeah, she's not entitled.
Yeah.
The other ones are.
Well, so that's a comedian that I know that like suffered some sort of loss from being canceled due to her actions. I don't know who these other comedians that you're talking about, all of them. Like,
dude, like I mean, all of them. Like, it's been a while. I mean, I'll be real with you, dude. It's been a while since I've been like heavy into the stand-up comedy scene. These days, I'm more into the sort of Vic Berger, Tim and Eric Andre style of comedy. But a part of that for me is because I've heard so many of the people that I thought were hilarious. Growing up, Dave Chappelle. There you go. Dave Chappelle is a great one. He's not canceled or anything, but there's another fucking out of touch dude who just doesn't understand that like his style of humor is just not going to play these days.
So I couldn't disagree with you more.
Well, let me just
go ahead.
Let me just put it like this, man. A lot of the reasons why I stopped giving a fuck about stand-up comedy was because I was sick and tired of hearing all these dudes who I used to respect bitching and crying about like cancel culture, dude. When they say shit that, I'm sorry, dude, it's just not gonna fly. Look, like if a comedian from the 60s or from the 40s, right? Like whatever, who was back then, it was cool to call black people the N-word with a hard R, came to the 90s scene and did the exact same shtick, like I think we would all be like, yeah, bro, what do you fucking expect? But I think because a lot of us sort of have an emotional attachment to those comedians, we sort of look past that common sense because we have that emotional attachment, and so therefore we think they should be respected so that other people can understand how they're great. When at the end of the day, the society has just moved past them. They're just not.
I just couldn't disagree with you more. So specifically talking about Chappelle, like in order in honor of this debate or in preparation of it. I went and watched his 2 last specials. I hadn't seen The Closer in like a year, since whenever it premiered. Man, it is better than I remember. Chappelle is just amazing. He is the GOAT. I don't know anyone that's saying that he's beyond or he's over his prime. Like, he is amazing. And I forgot how many like great jokes were actually in that last special.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but like amazing, a lot of people that I've heard have definitely said that like, I mean, you can go on Double Toasted. It's something that they touch upon all the time. I mean, but I mean, it's great that you find that he's awesome. But like for me, I love the Chappelle Show growing up and shit, right? But even before all this cancel shit happened, I'll be real with you, man. Like I thought I thought his stand-up wasn't that great. And that's not like because of
Okay.
any particular issue. Like,
Well, that's the thing, though. Comedy's subjective. It would be like saying this
yeah.
color is the best color. Like, it's very subjective. It's very
Right.
personal.
Right, but here's
there
what I'm
is
saying.
no one comedy that's great for everybody.
Exactly,
Like, it
right.
really is a matter of taste.
And I'm not arguing against that.
Well, I mean, you are saying that he's past his prime, that he is just some rich guy that's out of touch. And
Yeah, that's my
I gotta
opinion.
say,
I'm not speaking for anybody but myself here, man.
okay.
You know?
Well, I'm just speaking for like everybody who rated it, that actual like comedy special.
Yeah.
The
Do
fans.
you see me trying?
I don't
to
have it
up
up right now, but I know at one point it was 99 with the fans and like
okay. All right. I
10%
just
with the critics or
want
something.
to take a break here. I just want to take a break here.
No.
I just want to make sure we both understand that we are representing our personal opinions here, and unless stated otherwise,
Yeah,
we're not
that's
gonna
what
agree on
comedy
that.
is.
All right,
For
cool.
sure.
All right, I just want to make sure we establish that because look, man, I'm not just saying. And again, I'm saying this because a lot of other podcasts that I listen to, a lot of other people that I listen to, my friends, my family have said the same thing. I mean, everyone, a lot of people still like the stuff that he came back with. Whatever, that's fine. But for me, like, it just kind of got a little too lackadaisical, and I started to see right away. For me, like how I read, it's like, okay, he's rich, kind of like he's just kind of hanging out, doesn't really seem to be as hungry as he used to be, and that's fine, and that's cool. But like for me, that sort of thing just kind of made me lose interest in this comedy overall. So I haven't really seen it, but the thing is with Chappelle is that like
how are you coming with the opinion that he's out of touch and past his prime if you
because
haven't been
of
seen
the whole trans issue, man, because of the whole
and what do you
trans
think that issue is? So I
So the
actually
trans-
I totally remembered it incorrectly and I just went back and watched that.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much of that special do you think is about trans?
From what I heard, it's like 20 minutes.
It's less than that. I
Okay.
think when I clocked it out, it was like 12 minutes. And
Uh-huh.
this is like an hour and 10 minutes. It has some
Okay.
memorable bits in it, man. Like, it is a
Mhm.
masterpiece. And even the parts where they're saying, like, this is the transphobic parts, it's not really transphobic. He's talking about his friend that he,
And you believe him.
yes,
Yeah, and
he
he believes it's his
literally,
story.
it is dedicated to her.
Uh-huh.
He
According to
tells
him.
the story of her.
Uh-huh.
He tells how he believes that she has an
You do-
authentic
you do know-
experience.
Yeah, you do know that comedians lie, right? Like they make up stories all the time.
They
for this
can,
humor.
and that's the next part that I wanted to get into with
Uh-huh.
jokes. Like, but I don't know. Your criticism of this thing that you haven't seen is
Mhm.
that it's very transphobic.
It's not. I'm not saying the show is transphobic. You're right. I haven't seen it. I'm telling you
Okay.
why.
Well, you're saying he's
goes
out of touch. Like you were
You're
talking
right.
about a bunch of these comedians
Let
that
me
got
go ahead and tell you
canceled.
why I think he's out of touch, buddy. Because you keep trying to bring up three conversations at once. Let's take it one bit at a time. Let me tell you why I think Dave Chappelle's out of touch, man. Like he is another edgy '90s comedian who just hasn't figured out that, dude, we're just not there. And I think he really overcalculated the tolerance for his takes on trans people. And if you want evidence of that, like, dude,
Yeah.
I mean,
How is he
what
out of
did he
touch
do
and
after-
how is he
what did
edgy?
do after- Because
I'm gonna need
that
those
is out
two
of touch.
things
That is-
defined.
because he made fun of trans people, dude. And if that's
So
not
that's
good enough
edgy?
for you, yes, in 2023,
And that means out of
2023.
touch as well. So the fact that he
Yeah, because
had
as
a
you can
joke.
tell, because as you can tell, there is an increasing acceptance of trans people, and they are seen as less and less weird and strange and shit like that, bro. So, like, when other people, when on a modern context, we hear Dave Chappelle with his 90s ass sensibilities on fucking trans people, like, yeah, just like this is fucking
So,
weird. Hold on,
Again, you're talking about something that you haven't heard, and you're saying his sensibility about trans people.
I'm not done talking. What did he do after
All
that?
right.
bro? What did he do after that? He went to a bunch of high schoolers and yelled at them, bro. He's yelling at the kids. He's doing the fucking Principal Skinners.
You're wrong.
It's not me that's wrong. It's the kids that are out of touch.
No, you're
he's
wrong. That incident, he talks about that in the special. It happened
Okay, so
prior
you're
to
taking-
this.
so fine. You're taking his word on it. I'm taking the reporting on it, right? So ultimately, what it came down to,
But
based
you were
on-
inaccurately talking
based
about
on
it.
the
You
videos
said,
that-
what did he do from there? He went and did this with these kids. That's
yeah, he
inaccurate. Bob.
essentially told them, hey, you're like, let's talk about these things. And all he could ever come up to say is, look, I'm older. Look, dude, ultimately the trans issue is just one of those things that like people, a lot of older sort of people are just completely fucking off base on, because to them, they still think that it's a conversation to be had. Meanwhile,
So
all
why
those
isn't
people
it a conversation we
lying.
had?
Because
Why is that off limits?
who cares? Because who fucking
Why
cares?
is any subject off limits?
It's not
I
off
don't
limits.
understand
It's
what.
not, look,
So
did
you're
anything
saying
happen
that
to
it's
Dave
because of his
Chappelle? Wait, hold on. Did
sensibilities?
anything happen to Dave Chappelle for making his trans jokes?
Yes, he got attacked on stage. His friend
Oh.
was forced into Robloxing herself, self forever sleeping, because of the harassment that he got from that community for his
You believe
prior
that?
jokes.
You believe that? You really
Yes, I
believe
do
that,
believe
bro?
that.
You don't think you don't think he made that up for the comedy bit, bro?
No,
Seriously, just
Daphne
break that down.
Dorman.
She
Daphne
killed
Dorman killed
herself.
herself, and she did that probably due to,
Probably.
I'm guessing, a lot of
YouTube?
mental issues
So you
that she
don't know?
had prior to this incident.
Uh-huh.
But there was a huge dog pile that happened 6 days before she jumped off a building.
Okay.
So
On Dave
it does
Chappelle.
seem to be a factor.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
not
wait,
saying
wait,
this is
hold
the only
Are you
thing that
saying
caused
the
that.
dog pile was on her, or was it on Dave Chappelle?
Yes, it was on her for
Okay,
defending
so
Dave
there's-
Chappelle. You
so
don't
there's
know anything
Dave
about this
Chappelle.
situation?
I don't know anything about the situation now.
Yeah, she tried to defend him. She said, punching down requires someone to consider yourself superior to another group. He doesn't consider himself better than me in any way. He isn't punching up or punching down. He's punching lines. That's his
Hey.
job, and he's a
Hey,
master of his
honestly,
craft.
hey, if
That's
that's
her
the way-
response. And then Twitter went apeshit and just wouldn't stop going after her, saying that she was a sellout, saying that she was not, respecting her people.
Right.
It's
So-
really bad.
I mean, so
But
you think
yeah,
that's
to
wrong,
say
right?
that
You
that
think-
wasn't a factor in her,
So you think that's wrong.
forever sleeping.
So, well, I mean, let's just be real here. I'm glad that you and I both can acknowledge that there is this issue and that it is wrong that trans people feel are pushed to that point, right? And look, it's whatever, dude. Like nobody, nobody's
Got to
supposed.
address this comment really quick. That is not the funny part. No, that's when he got serious and dedicated his entire special to her and her
All
memory.
right. Okay. Well, listen, man. Regardless, to say that she committed suicide, like you said, we don't really know the whole story, right? I'm not gonna say
We do. We know that she jumped off a building.
right, but
And
we
we know
don't.
that 6
but we
days
don't
before
know.
she was dogpiled on Twitter
don't
for
know
defending
that
Dave Chappelle.
And I'm not gonna say that didn't fucking make things worse because I'm sure.
No, but
yeah,
you're
of course it
you're
did.
acting as if these facts aren't known. We don't know
I
the
didn't know.
percentage that it caused in this,
Mhm.
but we do know that it was a factor.
Sure. Yeah. But here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. If that was all that ever happened in her life, that she got pushed back, right? For the whole Dave Chappelle thing, she might still be here, dude. She might still be here. But the thing is, a lot of trans people, because of people like you thinking that it's their business to like discuss their gender, they
No,
feel
I think that no subject should be
Well,
off limits.
well,
I don't
let me-
think anyone is above being mocked at. If you think that you are above somebody and you can't punch down, that means you don't think of them as an equal. I think of everyone as an equal. I think nothing is off limits. I think that is the job of a comedian, to explore a subject, to explore that line of what is acceptable. And every once in a while, you've got to cross that line to know where it is.
sure.
So, yeah, I don't think he's doing anything that edgy. I know a lot of edgier comedians. He is not a dark comedian. He's not edgy. You said that you haven't seen this. I'm telling you, he's not out of touch. There's a reason why the audience score on this is huge. There's a reason why he is known as the GOAT. And I don't know. It's just a
I'm not
bad
here to
example,
fucking
man.
say-
But he's one
I'm
that
not
got
here to say that
canceled.
He's not one of the
Like,
greatest, bro. Is
He
canceled?
literally was
Is he
attacked
still-
on stage also because
was
of this.
attacked.
Another
I knew.
trans activist
Another trans
tried to
activist.
tackle
It's
him
fucked up.
and
That
got
is-
really messed up.
that is fucked up.
It
100%.
is.
Unexcused.
That is what he is. So not only did they try to cancel him, try to get Netflix to drop him and drop every one of his specials that
Sure.
they've already paid for, but he was literally attacked. I don't know, man.
And
Like,
that's not
that
cool.
seems completely off limits. None
Yeah,
of that is
I agree.
speech.
That
if
is
you're going to
completely
just
off-limits.
tweet back at him like, you suck, this is not right. Like that's fine. But it's become more than that. People are trying to get
I
vengeance
agree.
for it. It's a mob coming after him. I'm
A
sorry,
mob.
man. Like it's a mob.
There
Do you
was
think
one
mob rule
trans
is
person,
correct?
bro. How many people do you consider a mob? That
Did
person
you
was
have you
fucking-
seen any of those protests in front of Netflix?
Wait, are you
Hey,
saying that protest
so
is an attack
Vito-
by a mob?
Are you
You
familiar
say
with
that all
Vito? I
protests
know.
are Go ahead.
I know the fandom initiative is kind of talking to Vito, or at least Dane was. But
I'm
are
not
you
in the
familiar with the-
initiative, bro. That's between them at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
But look,
but
man.
sorry.
listen,
Anyway, that Vito
Yeah,
guy,
well,
he
let's-
came to the actual protest at Netflix, and he had a
Mhm.
song that, or a sign that said "Jokes are funny." He
Uh-huh.
was literally mob attacked, and they You need to watch the videos, man.
What do you mean?
It
Mob
is a
attack?
mob.
Did they physically hurt
I
him?
mean, like there was about 20 people that surrounded him, ripped the sign out of his hand, and then started yelling he has a weapon. So they ripped the sign off of the board that he had holding it, and then yelled that he has a weapon. And then people tried to forcefully take it out. They hit his head on a rock.
Did he have a
It
weapon?
was a mob. Yeah. You
So he had a
really need
weapon.
to look into it, man. There was a mob at the Netflix protest
Right.
for Dave Chappelle. That's what I'm talking about. Mob rule is
Wait.
not
It's
okay.
a mob. It's not protesters, right? It's not protesters.
They
who are trying
became
to get this
unruly.
person away. Okay. That
So is it protesting when you attack somebody who has a differing opinion than you, who has a sign that just says jokes are funny?
no. But at the same time,
So then what would you call
nobody
that? I would call that a
nobody-
mob. What would you call it?
I would say it's protesters.
What would you call
bro.
it? So protesters are just
protesters.
people attacking somebody with a sign.
Dude, okay. They ripped his sign away and they tried to take his knife away. All right. I'm not saying that's cool, but is that
I mean, they hit his head on a rock. Like
On
that
purpose?
doesn't seem like they weren't. Yeah, he
On
was
fucking
knocked
purpose?
down into it. Yeah. If
All
I
right,
remember
man.
right, he had like vertigo or something after. I can't remember. It was like a year ago, but
Uh-huh.
he did get some pretty serious injuries from it.
Well, hey, man, look, I'm not saying that didn't happen, but you seem someone who is way more into this. And if it's that Vito guy who put out his own video on it, I don't know, bro. I have to see it myself to comment on it, right? But well, yeah, that does, yeah. What
I
else?
couldn't agree more, Bob. And I would like to address your comments, but I'll wait till after this discussion. Sorry, Bob's saying some stuff in the comments.
Oh, I see him.
All right, whatever. We've called it out now. So, yeah, Bob was claiming that I was just doing a gotcha moment last time, and I think that's so disingenuous yet again from
Well,
Bob.
I'm not Bob, bro.
I know, but he's
not
called me
Tony.
out like 4 times in the chat.
That's
I'm not
it.
going to block him. I'm not like his guys. So anyway, I told him from the beginning in the comments what I wanted to talk about. He said either you're going to get blocked or you come on stream and talk about it. And it was that pattern. So I emailed him specifically about the pattern. And then I told him at the beginning of that conversation, this is why I don't think this works.
Yeah.
This
No,
seems like
I-
a useless
I
tool.
read- yeah,
So
I heard
I don't know. His main comments are that I've been bad faith and I was looking for a gotcha moment. There is
Right.
nothing about that that's
Well,
bad
okay,
faith.
man.
There was
Well,
no
let me
gotcha moment.
just.
So,
Okay,
I'm done talking about it.
bro. Let's go ahead and sort of talk about this discussion at hand, because it seems to me
Yeah.
what you really want to do is that you want to sort of look at these particular specific moments, right? Chappelle shouldn't have been attacked. The trans person shouldn't have been attacked. That dude probably shouldn't have brought a fucking knife to a peaceful protest. But
A knife?
yeah, well, a weapon, right? He had a weapon on him.
No, he had a sign that said jokes are funny. They literally tore the cardboard off the sign so that he was just holding a stick and then said he's got a weapon.
Did he have a weapon? I asked you if he had a
No,
weapon.
he was
You said
literally had the stick. So how would you protest with a sign?
You hold it
You
up.
would generally put it on some sort of, you're not just going to hold like poster board, right? You're going to have like a stick or something.
Well, look, man.
So they ripped that off of there and then claimed that he had a weapon to try and get something to happen to him.
I'm not gonna fucking sit here and do this like case by case fucking thing, because like you seem to like really be stuck on that sort of media and you want to report on it, bro. That's not my thing.
What do you mean
Listen,
that sort of
shitty
media?
people-
Like-
shitty. Yeah, that's sort of like super like liberals behaving badly bullshit. I get it on my end too, bro. It's just like I'm smart enough to understand that I am going to be shown the most extreme fucking things that aren't representative of the whole, right? Because I mean, here's the thing, bro. I, as a liberal, as a leftist, right? Like I see a lot of fucking cringy, fucked up shit on the right too, right? Like there's fucking right wing protesters who literally there's right wing dudes who just ran over protesters, killed one of them. Right, we could sit here, we could trade back and forth all this.
What does it have to do with comedy or
exactly,
free
bro?
speech,
What
man?
the fuck does it have to do with comedy and free speech? So,
Well, everything that I was talking about was people trying to cancel a comedian for his speech. So I don't know
Right,
how
bro.
you tried
No,
to
you're trying
like
to bring
bring
up all
in
these
Charlottesville to this. That
I'm
really
not,
seems
that's what I'm
disingenuous.
saying, bro. That's what I'm saying, because you're
Okay,
sort of
this
bringing up
incident
these
is
very
specifically
specific-
because
hold
of
on, hold
Chappelle,
on.
who they tried to
You can
cancel.
look back in the history of all humankind and see crazy fucking individuals, unhinged fucking people from all spectrums, all
That's
fucking
true.
walks of life, fucking do that shit. So yeah, I'm surprised, dude. Unhinged people exist and they do fucked up shit. I don't see what that fucking says about the overall groups of people we're talking about, right? Like, let me ask you right now, bro. That trans person who attacked Dave Chappelle, what
Yeah.
does that say? What does that person's actions say about the greater trans community?
I wouldn't say anything about that
Absolutely nothing, right?
because I don't like judge an entire community off of a single person's actions.
Exactly. So I'm glad to hear that, dude. But like when you say shit like that, because you seem to be focusing
Say shit like what?
expressly on these leftist fucking things, leftists behaving badly, right? And like I tell you, dude,
I've never said that in my life. I don't know what you're talking about, leftists behaving badly. I talked about Kathy Griffin. It wasn't the leftists who were attacking her who canceled her. I'm pretty sure that was the right wing people. Bob asked about the Bud Light.
You know, honestly, great. Like I love that you're talking like this, bro. I love that you're talking like this, honestly, because I know you and your audience. You know, you're all on this whole. You think you're doing something. Your audience thinks you're doing something, and it's cute and it's adorable. I love it, man.
I'm glad you think what I'm doing is cute, but I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm giving my opinion. I'm not a right winger.
Let me talk, bro. Let me talk. I'm not saying you are. But what I love is that this sort of pedantic, like myopic conversation, you know, this is why people are so like moving away from this right-wing sort of attitude on shit, bro. Because like, listen, a lot of people are gonna be, if a normal person sees this conversation, right, what they're gonna see is, and the same thing with you and Bob, by the way, it's just you being painfully pedantic and thinking that that is an effective or interesting debating tactic, dude. And look, bro, like whatever, we're getting into this heated shit. I'm sure it's great entertainment, but ultimately it's just pedantic. And listen, this is not a conversation that I haven't had before. Everybody has had this conversation with someone like you, man. So
what do you mean someone like me? So you like said a bunch of like
this, who thinks this pedantic fucking argumentation is doing something.
So you think like bringing up facts is pedantic? See, like I brought up the facts of what happened in the Dave Chappelle thing. Yes, instead of like bringing up facts, you literally were talking about, hey, all these 90s comedians are claiming that. The one that you brought up, I happen to know for a fact, isn't claiming that. Like, I don't know, maybe Jim Brewer did in the past, but I literally just saw him on Rogan. He is not claiming that
and I heard him a year ago bitching about cancel culture in his fucking special, dude. In the special. You can watch it. He complains about it there to his sold-out fucking audience, bro. All right? Listen. Like this pedantic argumentation, this whole like it's facts. It's so tired and it's so hackneyed, bro. Like, because what it does is that it essentially shows and exposes this sort of like disease that a lot of people like you have, man. Where you think that like,
what is the disease that I have?
Yeah, this sort of like pseudo intellectual exercise or robbing things of their sort of context,
as opposed to your like what completely vague actual fact.
Well, like, listen, bro, we were talking
you're
about
not talking about any actual thing though. You're talking about every 90s comedian. So
exactly, because we're talking about the broader issue of free speech within comedy. I don't think we need to go into exact examples of to like a comedian's events here or there, because the overall conversation we're having, bro, is very broad.
It's not broad when you're saying every one of them is saying that, you know, they're just not making the same money, and that's cancel culture.
Right here, it's called a generality, son.
You're right.
Generality,
and it's way too general, and that's why I'm asking you for anything specific.
And you know it, and you're still being pedantic in this shit, bro.
You can call it pedantic. We're literally talking about this subject.
I love it because the more that I can fucking bring this out there, the more that I can show people this like weak sauce, like uncritical, like unfucking like in a vacuum sort of like way of viewing things, it's just gonna like remind everybody else of all the other people like you, dude, and it's just gonna keep growing.
What would that be? What are the other people like me? I think Vincent has a really good comment here that he doesn't think you see me as an individual. You keep calling me people like you. What does that mean to you? You're not explaining it. Pedantic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that I'm pedantic. I do think that facts matter. I do think that, you know, you can't just always talk in generalities unless you're going to say the generality is everything's okay. Well, and if that's your generality, then okay, I'll totally get on board with that.
You wanted to talk about like you want to talk about the relationship between free speech and comedy. And then you're over here being like, what about this thing that happened to this one guy? What about this one thing that happened to that one guy? When the answer is just like the same, like they shouldn't be behaving like that. What does any of that have to do?
Behaving like what? What do you mean they shouldn't be behaving like that,
bro?
So okay, I asked you like who is behaving unhinged.
Have you ever had a conversation with another person? Like,
I
do
have.
you need this constant like reassurance and like reiteration on all these things, dude? Or can I speak to you like a human being with generalities that
I would love it if you did speak to me like a human being.
I'm trying
So
to, dude.
your
I'm trying
generalities of they shouldn't do this and they shouldn't be. You're
Listen,
not actually
okay,
saying anything.
okay. So let's go ahead
so
and
what
recenter it.
is
Let's go ahead
off
and recenter
limits?
it.
So you mentioned
nothing,
Chappelle talking about
nothing
trans
is off
people.
limits. Nothing
Okay.
is off limits at all.
Well,
That's
you
what I'm
mentioned
saying, bro.
that you mentioned that Chappelle shouldn't be talking about trans people in his comedy. Why?
I wouldn't say that he shouldn't be. And I don't know if I said those exact words. If I did, I take it back. Like, he can say whatever he wants. That's fine. Like, if he wants to talk about trans people, he can. But
Damn it. So I
everybody
guess the
else,
audience is hearing the same thing that you were saying, where you're saying it was only on the one side. That sucks.
shit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which of us screwed it up. One of us did.
we'll just figure it out in post or whatever. But look, man, let's just take this all the way back, bro, because
Okay.
it all comes down to the same umbrella of stand-up comedy, right? And the nature of stand-up comedy and how it relates to free speech. Am I correct? That's the ultimate discussion at hand here.
Yeah. Okay, Bob. So I think it is all about free speech. And
Yes.
you were basically saying that there are certain things that shouldn't be said, that these people
I
are.
never said. Okay, listen. If that's the impression I gave off, I'm sorry. Let's just go ahead and I'm going to say it right now, just flat out. Anybody can say whatever they want.
Okay.
Anybody can say.
I
whatever
would agree with that generality. That is totally cool with me.
Okay.
Earlier, when you were talking about Chappelle, you made it sound like you didn't want him to be able to make trans jokes, or that it was off limits
again, you keep, I'm sorry, bro. I don't know where you got this impression of me, and I don't know what I said, but I'm gonna reiterate it. Anybody can say whatever they want, dude.
Okay.
All right, like that. Period. Flat out. Like,
No, I
you know,
heard you. I was just saying earlier
yeah.
I got that impression from you. So
Okay.
that's why I was on that.
All right.
So in your initial comment to me, you were saying that free speech isn't a comedian saying edgy jokes, and it's everyone else's right to deny them hard-earned cash or support.
It's
If
free
that's all
speech
you're
and
saying,
it's-
that, like it's, like you're not going to support them with your dollars, I totally agree with that. That is, nobody's entitled to everybody's support. Again, it is subjective. So if you are saying that they can do that and it's just a matter of, you don't support them, hell yeah, we both agree with that.
You see, this is what I mean by that pedantic shit, bro. Because look,
What about that is pedantic?
put that up for me. Put that back up for me. Put that fucking that sentence back up for me, will you?
Yeah.
Okay, read it out loud.
Yeah, I literally did a second ago. Free
All right,
speech
so what
is
do
a
you
comedian
think I'm
saying
trying to
edgy
say? What do
jokes.
you
It's
think I'm
also
trying to
everyone's
say?
right to deny them their hard-earned cash and support.
Yeah, bro, because
I
look,
literally just said, if that's all you're talking about, we agree. And I told you that
Yeah.
in my response
Okay.
to this.
all right, man. All right, so
But
what are
your
we-
next thing
okay.
is this comment, which is, frankly, most of the comedians crying cancel culture are rich, out of touch, mainly coasting off the success of their better work from when they were poorer and in touch with the working class.
Yes.
So that seems like a huge generality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing the rich, out of touch comedians that you're talking about would be like Chappelle.
Yes.
Right.
It actually no. It's funny you say that because that is specifically what I'm talking about with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
why,
let's
that's why I
let's
watched
look
his
at the-
thing.
well, right. But let's look at the Elon Musk issue, right? Like, he brought Elon Musk on stage,
So-
clearly expecting everybody to think he's fucking badass, right? He even said,
I don't know about that. That's mind
he
reading
said-
that you're saying he's thinking this as opposed to he's in Austin.
Well, bro, he said
Elon's
he
in
was-
Austin.
he was in San
They're both
Francisco.
like big
It was in San
celebrities.
Francisco. It was in San.
I
It was
don't
at
know.
Dave Chappelle, San Francisco. No, dude, fucking look it up on YouTube. Go ahead, pull
For
it
you
up.
to say that it's simply because
Why
he
does it
wants to
care what
look
I say?
cool,
We can pull it up on YouTube, son. Let's just pull it up on YouTube right now and watch it. Here,
why? Okay, I believe Ed left. I'm not exactly sure why. Okay, and it looks like we might have him back.
sorry, I dropped out there for a minute. But
No,
yeah,
it's all good.
why we get ready on this one? We could just
Hey,
watch.
man,
Let's go ahead and
so
watch.
I don't know what bringing that up would say. Just you
Well,
were saying that he brought him up clearly because he wants to look cool.
He said, "This
I
is
don't-
my friend, bro."
Yes.
He literally said, "This is my friend, Elon Musk." Do you
So
ever?
that's
do you
all
think
I'm saying.
a
Like,
comedian would bring up someone and introduce them as their friend if they didn't expect the audience to fucking receive them warmly, bro?
I mean, yeah, it happens all the time. Like that
Okay,
is
then,
one of
great.
the bits that Dave Chappelle had in there. He had that Daphne lady open for him,
Jesus
and she
fucking
just ate
Christ,
shit.
bro. Listen, you got to keep fucking moving back to this point because you don't know where I'm going with this. But I promise you, dog, it's not gonna bite you. So just sit down for a minute, all right? What I mean by that, bro.
Hey, have
is
you
when
ever
it
had a
comes to
conversation with
comedy-
anyone else, Ed? Because you seem to be very belittling and very shitty to me earlier. But
Dude,
it's not
because
like
this
you're
is
actually doing
obnoxious.
like a good
This
back
is
and forth here.
obnoxious, bro.
Hey, am I telling you to sit down and just listen to this? That
no,
you don't know where
no,
I'm
no,
going?
no.
No, I'm not.
honestly,
I'm
but-
trying to
but I
actually
want-
talk to you and take it on point by point instead of your soliloquies where
Right.
you
But
just
that's
keep going
because-
on and there's like 5 points in there and I don't get to address all of them.
Okay, all
Instead,
right.
we get stuck
Okay,
back and
man, but
forth on
listen.
one of them.
All right, so,
So let's take a little bit more turns, okay?
All right, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Like I said, especially when it comes to stand-up comedy, all artists essentially, any public figure, relatability fucking matters. All right, because you want to relate to the people you watch, you know, and that's what I mean. Like earlier, Dave Chappelle, I love that shit because I could relate to the shit he was fucking talking about. I can't relate to him anymore because he's over there talking about like the millions of
So
dollars.
you
deals.
haven't watched it.
Hold on, bro. I watched his first special, which is what I'm talking about specifically. All right. In that special, he's going on and on about the millions of dollars and this and that. And don't get me wrong, it was interesting, but I couldn't relate to it. So I
Okay,
stopped.
I believe that was 4
Okay,
specials
but what I'm
ago.
saying- exactly, bro? The one that I saw. I don't even know what's the point of even iterating on this. It's just a fucking fact, bro. Let it go. But look, what I'm saying.
So it's not a fact, it's your opinion though.
It's not a fact that I watched this first special.
No, you talked about
watched his
him
first
being
special. It's
out
a
of touch and him not being as consistent as he was
Jesus
back in the day.
Christ, dog.
That's an
Because
opinion. You're saying it's a fact, but it's like, hey,
It's the fact that I watched his first special, which is what I'm referring to. I never at all.
okay.
You're the one who's trying to fucking act like I'm speaking about anything else here, dude.
No,
In his first special,
I never said that you didn't watch his special.
you literally said that.
No, you said
Bro,
it's a
bro,
fact,
all right,
and
okay,
you had
listen, I
previously
think-
said he is out of touch. I thought you were talking about that is the fact, not that you watched it.
Yeah, well, that's what I
Can
was
you understand how there would be
listen,
confusion
listen,
in
all
there?
right, man. So listen, I watched his first special. I found it unrelatable. Okay,
Okay.
that's it. So I kind of lost interest. Simple as that. And he's to the point now where not only is he arguing with teenagers, an old man arguing with teenagers about how they're wrong, even though society's in their fucking hands, you know, and now he's fucking bringing up Elon Musk. And look, man, the guy is successful. I'm glad he's doing great. The fact that he is doing great should be all the proof you need to understand that the whole fucking cancel culture thing is a bunch of bullshit. But what I'm saying is, dude,
So because they failed at that, it's all bullshit.
failed at what?
So do you like not believe in attempted murder or like attempted any
Whoa,
other
wait,
crime?
wait. Failed at what? Failed at what? Exactly.
So
What is-
there was an attempt to cancel him, and the cancellation failed. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. That literally doesn't track.
I mean, dude, if you want to get stuck on that pedantic fucking,
You can
Uh,
call it pedantic, but it's
semantic
like
bullshit,
you're
bro.
saying
Again, that's
some
fine.
blanket statements that aren't true or accurate.
yes,
so
again,
because he
it's called-
wasn't-
it's called shorthand.
because he
It's
wasn't
how people
permanently
have been
canceled.
treated for hundreds of thousands of years. I'm frankly surprised this is all new to you, dude. But yeah, people speak in generalities because, believe it or not, pedantic bullshit is not an efficient or even great way of discussing shit, dog. Seriously.
No, but it would be an accurate way as opposed to a very inaccurate general conversation that's not talking about anything.
So now you're making excuses for being pedantic. I'm not talking about anything.
No,
because-
I'm literally saying, hey, what you're calling pedantic is actually looking for some evidence and
that's
actually
exactly
talking
what a
about.
pedantic person would say. Oh my fucking god.
So then you're like Bob. You think that evidence doesn't matter.
No. I love this shit. What is it with you pedantic fucking people, bro? It's just like having
Hey man,
no fucking like
I'm not name calling at
for-
all.
I'm
You
not name
keep
calling
calling me
either.
pedantic because I want to actually get into the specifics
Yeah,
of
because
anything.
like yeah, the specifics are so like petty and they're just getting down to semantics and shit like that. And again, bro, please keep it up because this is the exact same. This is the reason why people are sick and tired of this shit, bro. Honestly, I'm willing to take it if it helps prove my overall point here, dog. But listen, when it
Patrick
comes
brings
to
up a
this
question.
show
Was
and shit,
pedantic on your word a day calendar or something? Like, is there a reason why you keep saying that?
is it on
You
your
wanna go with
stuff?
anything else?
Is that your main philosophy for life? Because between this conversation and the one you had with Bob, it seems like it's the only move you got, dog.
Well, accuracy or truth is my main move and my main attempt. It's what I
Please,
hold as the highest value.
Go.
So
Let's go.
it
I did
involves
too, dude. I did
evidence.
too, but but there's plenty of ways to do it without being this fucking petty, dog. For real, just try talking like a normal human being. Can we do that?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now.
All right, man.
I'm not
Okay, so-
stopping and calling you pedantic.
Okay, because I'm not, bro. I'm
You could at
letting
least,
the conversation move on.
change it up. Like, Wallace
Stop
and Gromit
being
fan here is
pedantic,
calling me
also calling you
nitpicky.
pedantic, dog.
Hey, you could call me
Like, what do you want me
particular.
to do?
You could call me like investigative. There's a plethora of other words that you could use
But
other
you're not.
than
You're just
pedantic.
pedantic because you to be those other things. There would be a purpose to it. The fact that there is no point to it, other than you just wanting to be incredibly nitpicky about shit, to sort of try to pick apart the syntax.
Well, when you say that every 90s
arguments, bro.
comedian is making less money and claiming that it's because they're just out of touch, I'm sorry, we need to get more specific than that. Where do you go from somebody saying
Let me ask you a
every
question. Let me
90s
ask you a
comedian
question. Let me
is
ask you a
saying
question, bro. Let me ask you a question.
that? Yeah,
On the whole, because I said that as a generality. I already said that. All right.
I know. That's
On the
all you
whole,
said.
okay. So you understand that it's a generality. Okay.
Yes.
On the whole, do you think that comedians from the 60s were doing as well in the 90s as they were on the 60s, generally speaking?
I
When the
mean,
90s had its own class,
it
of
really
comedians that
depends
were much more
which,
fresh.
because there's a whole bunch of
That's
them
why I
that
said
died from the
generalities,
60s.
bro. That's why I said generalities. Generally speaking, do you believe that a comedian from the 60s, for a comedian from the 60s,
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
90s,
there were definitely some that were like, I don't know.
okay, but
You've got
generally
like,
speaking, no, right? Generally speaking, no.
generally speaking, the career of a comedian is not like 30 years. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys, I'm trying with this guy. I really am.
Okay.
No,
So
bro.
what is your point?
Okay. So
So
listen,
your point is that these guys
that's
are
the
all out
point.
of
It's
touch.
a generality. Like, if you can understand that, generally speaking, a comedian is not going to fare well in their youth, fare well when they're old, in their like 30 years after their prime, as they did when they were in their prime. Like, if you understand that, dude, then what's the point of fucking going into this pedantic bullshit, dog? For real, what is the point of it? I told you we're
So
speaking
the point of it is
Hold on, and we're
trying to
speaking in
actually get to
generalities
the
because-
truth.
Hold on. Yes, and we're speaking in generalities because the truth is actually very broad, right? The main what's the fucking title of this episode? Comedy is free speech, but I could be wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Comedy is free speech. Period.
Okay,
Right?
cool.
We don't really need to get much further into specific careers or specific acts, because overall, we're not disagreeing on the basic idea here. What I'm saying, bro, is that you, and please don't take any offense to this, you're gullible, bro. You're just straight up gullible.
I'm gullible.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I did want to bring that up as well because
Uh-huh.
you called me a mark for
Yeah.
comedy. I can't find the actual comment, but yeah, essentially it's the same type of deal. You called me a mark.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and you're now calling me gullible.
Yes.
I would like you to actually back any of those accusations with how. So how
With
am
how?
I gullible?
Because we both generally just agreed here that comedians will not be doing as well financially 30 years
No.
past their prime. So
We didn't agree that.
So generally
You
speaking,
did not
you
say
don't
that at all. Hey, Ed, you
But am I
gotta
wrong?
wait here now.
Okay, but am I wrong?
Okay, hold on. So you said somebody from the 60s, were they doing as well in the 90s? I agreed.
30 years.
No, they weren't. Hey, hold on, Ed. I let you finish. Hold on, buddy. So I agreed. No, they wouldn't. I didn't say, would somebody 30 years past their prime be more out of touch? Obviously, that would be the case.
I'm
You're-
sorry.
No,
I'm
no, no.
sorry that you're
It's
so
begging the
devoted to
question
giving
by
me
saying that they're
correction.
past their
You're-
prime by 30 years, Ed.
How are they different, dog? How are they functionally different, dog? Please answer me that.
So you're talking about somebody from the 90s. So let's talk about Chappelle. And you're saying that he's out of touch now. You're saying that he's past his prime.
yes,
I disagree with that. He is still
Okay.
considered the greatest of all time.
I'm not denying that either. But I'm
Okay.
still saying,
Well,
would
then
you rather
that's
watch his
not
newer
what you're talking
specials, or
about.
Would you rather watch
So
his older
he
stuff?
is not past his prime, and he is 30 years
I'm
past
saying
that.
past his prime
So-
in terms of being in touch with society. Why do you think I'm talking
Yeah, I
about the whole
completely
being
disagree
in
with
touch
you on
with
that as
dog?
well.
Okay,
I
he
completely
argued with a
disagree.
bunch of fucking 17-year-olds, dog. He argued to high schoolers. He brought Elon Musk out thinking everybody was going to love him as much as he did, and they didn't. I mean,
What's your point with that? That has absolutely nothing to do with free speech or comedy.
No, you're right. It has to
Yeah.
do with being out of touch, which is all I'm saying. What you're doing is you're conflating me saying that he's out of touch with me
So
saying,
because the audience
"Hold on, I'm not
didn't
done talking,
accept
bro. I'm not done
Elon
talking.
Musk
I'm
because
not
they
done
didn't.
talking." This pedantic shit. Listen, dog. What I'm saying is very fucking simple, bro. When I'm saying he's out of touch, I'm saying he's out of touch with like the zeitgeist, with where society is going. I'm not saying he's out of touch with the whole comedy scene. I'm not saying he's unsuccessful. I'm not saying he's not great. He is. He was a
No,
big.
you're saying he's past his prime,
bro.
and
I'm
you're just
saying he's
completely
not-
wrong on that.
Okay, bro, it's fine if you feel that way. This is a subjective fucking thing to believe, anyways.
Okay.
And if you can fucking tell me X, Y, and Z say otherwise, fine. My opinion is that he's out of
Patrick
touch.
brings up
What are
another
you
great one.
talking
What about
about?
Bill Burr? He was a 90s
Bill
comedian.
Burr
Is he
is
past
like
his prime?
fucking- Dude, Bill Burr is out there fucking clowning on conservatives left and right, dog. Maybe
Yeah,
that
Bill
has
Burr is
something to do with it.
hilarious.
Bill
That's
Burr
great.
is
He also is
pro-democratic
clowning on the left.
socialist. He's
Bill
more
Burr
in
seems to
touch
be
with the
equal
zeitgeist.
opportunity. He is awesome. I love
Yeah,
Bill
he's
Burr.
more and he's more in touch with the zeitgeist. So no, I can't say he's out of touch with society. I can't speak to how that translates to comedy and all that. But in terms of how societal attitudes are going, he's out of touch. Because, bro, I'm
So-
sorry to break it to you, but people are only getting more and more accepting of the LGBT community. We're not going backwards. All right, Gen Z.
Do you
It's
think
like the
that I
greatest
have an
community of
issue
all-
with that or anything?
No, but that's what I'm saying. If
So,
society is
It
moving,
seems
further
like you
hold
think
on,
less.
buddy. Society is moving further and further towards trans acceptance, and fucking Dave Chappelle is over here shouting at a bunch of high schoolers about how they shouldn't be that way. Then does that not
Is that
objectively
what
show
happened?
that he's
Did he
out-
just run up to some high schoolers and start yelling at them?
Why does
'Cause
that fucking
that's-
matter? He fucking did a little auditorium thing, and then he fucking had a bunch of kids fucking come up and like talk to him about the trans issue, and none of them were fucking like friendly towards him, and he started getting really pissed off about it. That's what happened.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody. I
that's
think
not exactly what happened.
characterizes it too. Listen, the details of what happened here and there are irrelevant because this conversation isn't about Dave
Details
Chappelle.
are not irrelevant, Ed. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No, details are irrelevant. No, just listen to me. I've got this feeling, and you just need to listen to this feeling.
Guys, you see that shit? Like, I'm trying to be specific, and he's already jumping.
No, you're not.
in.
You're literally
I am,
trying
because what
to.
I'm
You
saying-
literally said the details don't matter. That
Because
is the opposite of
details are
specific,
not-
Ed.
Because the conversation we're having is not about Dave Chappelle, bro. It's about free speech. That's why it
Yes,
doesn't fucking
and you
matter.
keep bringing up that, okay, so he apparently talked to some kids, and you think that he just went there to yell at some kids, which isn't
I never said
accurate
that.
to
I
how
never
that
said that. I said
happened.
that's how it
I
played
tried
out.
to explain that the details are different, and then you said the details are irrelevant. So it really seems shitty. You're going off of your feeling, not the actual facts of the subject, of the case. It's really,
Bro,
really
because we're not
shitty.
talking about Dave Chappelle specifically. We're talking about comedy.
No,
and free
of course,
speech,
you're not talking
bro.
about anything specifically, are you? Why get
Bro,
into the actual
thing is-
specifics of anything?
What is the fucking purpose of getting into the specifics of Dave Chappelle when we're talking about free speech? Can you answer that for me?
Yeah, you brought up two situations, and then I tried to explain, hey, that's not the full context for them. And you said, hey, the details are irrelevant.
Right,
You brought
because-
up the
because
Elon
the
Musk
main
thing. I tried to
conversation was
talk about that,
happening.
and you wouldn't let me. And then I tried to talk about when you said that he's yelling at kids.
Yeah, because he did end up yelling at kids. That's what he did.
Okay, so I tried to actually explain the situation there, and you wouldn't
Were you
let
there?
me. Were you there, Ed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Maybe-
but somehow
maybe-
your
But you're the one.
information
You're the,
is
no,
the
bro,
only
but you're
accurate
the
one.
But you're the one who's fucking being here like, well, that's not what happened, bro. And I'm saying it doesn't fucking matter. So if neither of us are there, how about we just drop it completely? Because
No,
it's
you're right. You're right.
irrelevant.
So you're right. I have, the actual details of the situation, and you don't. So let's drop
According
it.
to
Okay.
one
Okay.
party,
Moving
if
on.
you
Ed.
weren't there.
What else do you want to talk about? You're right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next subject.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
want to talk about this racism thing that you had with Bob, because I thought that was a pretty
Racism
interesting
thing that I
conversation.
had with Bob.
Yeah, the conversation you guys had about race and all that shit. I thought it was a pretty interesting one.
So it wasn't about race. It was literally okay.
Well, I
to
mean,
set
it's
it up.
fine you feel that way, but I mean, it's
No,
not
no.
race to me. So let's.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Okay.
About this,
So
right?
what it was about was I saw Bob and Dane go on Stitch and Adam show, and they were talking about how they call someone a bigot, and what they do for that is they use a pattern of behavior or a repeated
Oh, that
pattern
was
of behavior.
hilarious, bro. That was fucking hilarious, dog. No, I love that.
That
Let's talk
was
about
a
that for minute.
really horrible conversation.
No, that was great, honestly, because like Bob kept like giving defining all your terms, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, but like, how many times does somebody have to? Like, you were just being pedantic the whole time, bro.
No,
You're still
he
doing it
literally
now.
begged the question like 50 times where he said, okay, so if this pattern is going on, if somebody is committing what
Well,
you
okay.
consider racist
Yeah,
and they're
all right,
doing it
listen,
all the
all I
time,
really wanted
what
to
would you
say
call
was
that?
that
It's
I
like,
got-
yeah, that's a pattern.
all right, bro. All I
But
wanted to
he
say-
wouldn't answer one time the actual question that I asked him in chat, that I sent him in the email, that I asked him at the beginning of the stream. When does that pattern start? And he couldn't answer that. And he didn't engage with that once. It's really
because
shitty.
it's pedantic. Because it's a pedantic point. Because it's not like a fucking like rubric. What you're trying to do is to try to like put everything into a box so
Is
that you can
pedantic
rate
like
it, like,
your
on a
word of the
rubric,
day
bro.
or
Is it
something?
yours, bro? Because you won't
Do
stop
you get
doing
points?
it.
Hey man, you've said it like 50 times. Do you get
'Cause you've
points
been
every time you
pedantic
say it?
about
Did you
50
make a
times.
bet
Actually,
or
you've been
something?
pedantic about 100 times, bro. I've actually been keeping my mouth shut a little bit. But listen, dog. Let's get down to let's just get down to it, right?
Okay.
The free speech conversation, is it over? We done? We over it? Gone?
So, I don't know. Did you? It seems really shitty the way that you wouldn't get into any of it. But okay, if you're saying like comedy is free speech, cool. We don't disagree.
Yeah, I'm just saying you're a mark for caring about this
Okay,
shit.
you didn't explain anything about that. So
Okay,
how
yeah,
am
well,
I a mark?
let's go ahead
So
and get into
because
that. Let's
I
go ahead and get
enjoy
into
it and I think it was good, I'm a mark. But
No.
you're somehow
that is not what I
better than that because you watched 4 specials ago and decided it's not your cup of tea. So now you know that he's out of touch.
No,
So
not at all.
that's how I'm a
so
mark?
far. No, you're a mark because you still think that like comedians losing their audience because of things they did and said, because you think that's a free speech issue. That's what
Yeah,
you're a
those
mark.
things they said, yes, that would be a free speech issue
Why is that?
because that's literally what we're talking about. You
So they
should
said
be
a
free
thing,
to
right.
say anything you
Yes,
want.
you should be free to say, but we said earlier that just because you say a thing doesn't mean that you're owed a fucking career for it, right?
Yeah, nobody has said that you're owed a career for it.
Okay, so if
But
you agree
you
that
also
nobody is-
have that contract with the audience that their job is to either laugh, and that means you're successful, or they don't laugh, and then you're not.
Right, exactly. So
So
if it-
you're talking
cancel
about going
culture-
beyond that and trying to stop people from like getting further employment or cancel them from Netflix.
I don't think cancel culture exists. Well, okay, cancel culture does
I
exist.
understand.
I actually think it exists more on the right because if you look at what happened between like Kathy Griffiths and Lindsay Ellis, that's actual cancel culture. What the right calls cancel culture is like bizarre, right? Because like give me an example. All right, the Dave Chappelle thing. It's not cancel culture because the dude is still selling. He's doing fine, right?
So again, that seems really, really shitty and reductive. Do you believe that like
Oh, well,
attempted
give me-
murder is a
give me-
crime?
Give me another, of course.
Okay.
murder is a crime. Give me
Well,
another example.
No,
of
attempted murder. Do you believe that attempted
of
murder
course.
or
Mhm.
attempted robbery? Okay, this was attempted cancellation. It still happened. It still exists. Just because there is somebody who didn't actually permanently get canceled doesn't mean that cancel culture doesn't exist.
So if
Doesn't
it
mean that
didn't-
people don't get canceled.
Right, but you see, in order for something to be a phenomenon, it has to be like an ongoing thing, right? Like a constant fucking like actual force, like an intent thing. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and present you a situation here, and then you tell me is this cancel culture or not? All right, and it's gonna be very simple.
Okay.
Comedian in a comedy bit says something really offensive, incredibly offensive to everybody that wasn't funny, and nobody liked his work, and therefore he doesn't get to have a career in comedy. Is that cancel culture?
No. Well, it depends on what you mean he doesn't get to have a career.
Okay, all right. Well,
Is it you would have to kind of go into that. Like, did people, try and get him fired from the club? Did they talk to his agent, get him dropped from that?
you see, like no, bro. Like I literally just told you what it was. Nobody liked his shit, so he didn't get to have a career.
Yeah, then that wouldn't be it. But if you're talking about,
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a very specific thing here. I'm talking about
it
a
wasn't that
situation-
specific, and that's why I asked you for more specifics. So
What-
just saying that
No,
like
no,
the
okay,
audience
okay,
wasn't
so
there,
let me
that could be
reiterate.
that
So let me-
he
so
was
let me
canceled.
reiterate. Hold on, I just want to be
Okay.
crystal clear here. I'm going to
Please.
reiterate it one more time. In a situation where a comedian says something incredibly offensive that nobody thinks is funny, and they don't get a career, let's just say because they never learned from it and they keep doing it, is that cancel culture?
I don't believe anyone would consider that cancel culture.
Okay,
it
well,
appears
so
to
that-
be
that's the limit
somebody
of-
who's
of-
failing at comedy, and then they don't ever proceed in their career. Nobody is calling that cancel culture.
Okay, so if an established comedian comes back and says something deeply offensive that nobody likes and nobody wants to fucking watch him anymore, is that cancel culture?
So I wouldn't call that cancel culture. Like, are you talking about like, so for instance, if you want to talk about like Kramer, I don't know if that's technically cancel culture. Like everyone got a glimpse of how racist that dude is, and it seems like they realized, that wasn't funny. He was literally just on a racist tirade. Like there
Okay.
was no comedy whatsoever in that. It happened at a comedy club, but it wasn't part of a bit. It was, he just lost his temper and then
Okay.
just went super, super bad.
Okay.
To me, that seems like that wouldn't be cancel culture. That would be, someone severely fucking up at their job.
Okay. So let me
But
give you another one.
Well, hold on. So let me give you an example that would be. So
Okay.
in the comments a little bit earlier, they mentioned Justine Sacco. Are you familiar with Justine Sacco?
Nope, go ahead. Tell me about it.
So she did get canceled. She did a joke on Twitter. She was on a plane ride to Africa, and she basically said,
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's the one that I talked about in that thing. So that I would consider cancel culture because
I can see
she
that.
has
No, I would
tried
agree
to
with
make amends for it. She has apologized numerous times, and to this day, she cannot get a job.
Yeah, you know
That
what?
seems
Yeah,
like she was
that would
permanently
be
canceled.
That would be cancel culture, 100%.
And it sucks because she wasn't a comedian. She tried a super edgy joke, and that was horrible. Like,
yeah, no, and that's totally unfair. But I think also she was a woman who existed in modern times where your social media is a part of your job. Like, listen, I don't think. First of all, I just want to get this out front, man. Like, I believe in reform. I believe in people make
That's
mistakes,
awesome.
but we need to give them a chance to do better. And when it comes to Justine Sacco, I think it's fucked up that nobody's given her the chance to do better. Like, let's just be upfront, right? But like that is the case of cancel culture. But even then, like it's just like a changing societal role. Listen, somebody was going to do that. That was going to happen to someone eventually because of the way society was going, right? And it's unfortunate it happened to her. But if it wasn't her, it was going to be someone else because that's just where things are going.
She's like a sacrifice. Like it just has to happen. We need to appease like some
hey man, that's
God or something.
Human beings are irrational creatures. I'm not defending it. I am not defending it. I think
it just
wrong.
seems bad.
It is wrong. It is bad. But hey, humanity is irrational and occasionally wrong and bad. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there does have to be some sort of lane for forgiveness. It sounded like you were also in favor of that. I don't see that necessarily being there, and that's what people are calling cancel culture.
Right. And
have you heard of FIRE, the Foundation
Festival?
for Individual? No. FIRE. It's a Foundation for Individual Rights, and I think it used to be education. I think they switched it, but I can't remember.
Okay.
But FIRE has a list of everyone who's been canceled since the year 2000 for free speech issues.
According to FIRE.
Yes, they are a free speech, a free speech rights.
Well, I mean, anybody can come up with a cool little anagram and say they're a free speech.
No, so these are specifically scholars, so people who have been fired for free speech issues at schools.
Okay.
So there's currently a list
it's
of
people with a personal stake here who are not
1,093.
impartial, right? So it's people who are inherently impartial because they've been affected by this and are probably
so actually it goes through. It says what political motivation, if it's from the left or from the right. It's very even, but this group has found over 1,093 cases of people that have been fired for free speech issues. They've been canceled for the words that they actually said.
Again, unless the government has stepped in.
Well, you're saying it doesn't exist.
Yes, unless the government has come in and taken away their right to speak, it's not a free speech issue. We agreed to that, right? So I highly doubt there have been 1,039 examples, and I doubt that if I were to go on that website right now, it is on the hands of any actual politician, right?
So no, but they are getting fired for their actual. So like, I mean, we could go through the list of them, but it's for like their views, their opinions, what they actually said.
Right.
So,
and I mean, you could sue someone.
No,
right?
But you were saying earlier that cancel culture doesn't exist. You don't believe in it. Well, you've just accepted a whole bunch of examples of it, and I've got 1,093 other ones that I could give you.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
Cancel culture
does
exists.
exist.
Try and tell Justine Sacco that it doesn't exist.
Okay, yeah, all right. In that particular case, sure. But
no, not just her case. There's nearly 2,000 cases.
Well, okay. Let's just say, would you say that cancel culture and free speech are equal? Like they're inherently tied to each other.
No, we have an actual like constitutional amendment that says we have the right to free speech.
Exactly.
So no, I don't think mob rule, collectively trying to make sure that somebody cannot either get
Well,
financial.
let's be totally real here. There was no mob that came after Justine Sacco, right? She acted in a way.
It was a Twitter mob.
Yeah, well, whatever that meant, it
was an
reflected
outrage
in
mob.
society, right?
I mean,
Because
does
what
it
I
have to be a
understood-
physical one for you to call it a mob? What
Well,
would you
here's
call
the
it if
thing.
a bunch of people pile on to her?
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question: if all those people came after her, whether that is a mob or not, is that against free speech?
So it depends.
They're private individuals who are
Yeah.
expressing
So,
their distrust and acting on that dislike of what she did.
so it really depends. It really depends on what you view Twitter as. If they are actually like
It's a
a
private
platform,
place.
the town square. Hold on. So I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying. It is a private company, but it is
Mhm.
acting as our town square. If it is our town square, then that is Twitter. They went after her. I believe they completely nuked her profile and everything.
Well,
That
they
would
probably
be-
because they violated their terms of service as a private
No.
entity. They're able to do that.
So, okay, so the joke is offensive. It's I'm going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just
Mhm.
kidding, I'm white. No part of that is hate speech. It's a
Mhm.
very offensive joke, but
Well,
it doesn't
I-
break their
you know,
terms
I-
of service.
Well, I mean, it is a little bit. I could see how it could be hate speech because she did have to bring the fact that she's white, which is inviting a comparison, right? If she didn't say that she was white,
I
hey,
have seen
fact
like
that she
10
stated that
jokes
she was
worse than
white.
that on Twitter today. It
Okay,
doesn't
but
appear to
regardless,
be.
she's the one who lost her profile.
No, but
Listen,
you're saying it's
ultimately-
against their
ultimately-
terms of service. I don't think it is. I've seen much worse.
Well,
I've seen
it's not your terms of service; it's Twitter's, and they get to decide
yes,
how they
it's
enact
their
it, right?
terms of service.
So if Justine Sack, because like you said, you've seen things that are probably 10 times worse, and Twitter lets that go. So if Twitter, I mean, they're a private entity, dude. They can do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to let 10 go, that's totally fine. If this one person pisses them off and they take her profile out, hey, she still has free speech, bro. She could go on other platforms and she can speak openly and talk to people.
So, yeah, that really is the difference between how you're actually viewing Twitter and how everybody else. Well, I don't
don't
else.
disagree with
There
I don't
seems to be
disagree with
two
you that it
camps
is-
here.
I don't
That
disagree
one
with you
is
that it
calling
is
it more of a
town square.
utility. One is calling it, an actual public square
Well,
type
then-
deal,
okay, well, then
and
let's
then
be
the other is
objective.
saying it's just a private company.
Well, then let's be objective, right?
Yeah,
Twitter is a private entity that served as a town square.
it's somewhat.
That has
So yes, if you want to split the baby, yes.
there's no splitting the baby,
It
bro. It's
appears
respect.
to be slightly different than that. There's, they have gone ahead and declared that no, you can't like kick off public officials. They can't block people because it is essentially a public square and it's the way that they can contact them. You
The
can't
government
block
said that to them?
individuals. Yeah, I think it was AOC was getting in trouble for blocking people. They basically said like from that account.
Wait,
you can't.
AOC?
I believe she was the one getting in trouble for blocking
Oh, well,
people,
yeah.
and they
Okay,
basically
well, yeah,
made a
she-
ruling
she-
that she
she is a
can't
gov-
block her constituents.
Okay, yeah, she is a government figure.
So
That's a
I'm
different
just
thing.
saying,
So what the
it
question
seems
is,
like it's quasi, like it's not just, it's both. It seems like it's in a gray
Yeah, on
zone,
very
and it
specific
is
cases,
currently
it's
under
not. Like,
debate.
well, no, it's not for debate. Twitter is a private entity that acts as a town square that has it. And by the way, it's not the only town square. We're on another town square right now, right? Facebook is a town square. Instagram is a town square. There's hundreds of thousands of town
That's
squares.
the
out
argument, and that's
That's
why
not the
people
argument,
are
it's
trying to get
facts.
it treated like a
there.
utility, so they wouldn't
how
have
is
moderation.
Twitter as a public square any different than any other social media?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest one currently is kind of the thing. So, I mean, it's where kind of everyone is on. It is what
functionally
is
none.
currently
Functionally
acting
none.
as the de facto.
So
public square.
functionally, when it comes to matters of like being a public square, none. There's nothing differentiating it from any other social media from acting as a public square. Correct? That is objective
it's
truth.
success. I mean, like,
Okay,
it
bro,
is
but we're not
more
talking
so
about
than
success. We're
anything
talking
else.
about free speech, dog.
Well,
Why
you're
are you
asking
talking-
what is making it that. It would be the fact that it is currently the largest platform.
Okay,
Almost every
but
government official is on it.
Functionally, as a town square, as I've said 3 times already, it's no different than any other social media, right? So this private
Other
town
than
square,
it
this private
is
town square
bigger.
with their own platform said, "Hey, you're not allowed on our platform." What did they do that affected her free speech? She can
So-
go on other platforms. She can still exercise the free speech in the real world. Other people, other private entities canceled her, right? And that is fucked up. And I don't think that's cool.
No,
But
it
that's
was
also not
Twitter
true.
that canceled her as
She
well.
can't get a job, bro. She still struggles to get a job. She had real world consequences for her action, but none of those consequences, as fucked up and shitty as they were a product of the government. So even though she was canceled because the government didn't fucking hurt her free speech wasn't violated. It was just a product of a louder free speech from more people.
So I wouldn't consider a mob going after you and trying to get you
Because
removed from your job.
As a mob, bro.
Okay, what would you characterize it at?
It's people, dude. It's just people. It's just a bunch of people.
When a group of people who are acting like a hive mind, who then try to contact your employer and, you know, basically demand your head. I don't know. That sounds like a mob to me. Can you tell me what the difference between?
Collectively,
hold on, Ed. Okay, what would be the difference between a mob and a bunch of people going after your employer to get you fired?
Well, first of all, let's be totally clear here. Not everybody in that mob who didn't like what she said called her employer, right? A couple of extremely unhinged people did, right? A couple of really loser people who ain't got nothing else to do with their lives did that, correct?
I don't know how many people it was, but there were like thousands that piled on.
Okay, I mean, I highly
it was a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly how many people piled onto her, but it was like a huge controversy.
All right, but regardless,
and she was on that whole
okay, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is unhinged people exist. Unhinged people do unhinged things, and that's very unfortunate, right? But just because unhinged, even a lot of them do shit, I wouldn't even necessarily call that mob, because in order for something to be a mob, it must be like this organized thing that everybody agrees to be a part of. If a bunch of people all agree on one thing, to me that's consensus.
So it's not everyone agreeing with it, though. It is a mob. Like, okay, so if a bunch of people get together and they have a consensus that they should lynch someone, like, is that okay because they all agreed on it? That seems like it's mob. It's going after somebody to exact some sort of, not justice, but some sort of, you know, revenge for some perceived...
I love that we're talking about lynching, and his main concern is like how that relates to like mobs. Bro, it's like I said, I gave you my answer. I gave you my definition. Unless all those people agreed, like, oh, hey, this is Justine Sacco, like, oh, we're gonna come after her, and they're waiting for this thing to happen. Like, I don't see how that is another pedantic move. See, that's, again, thank you, Patrick, for showing everybody how annoying you people are. But look, bro,
you people, what do you mean by you people?
You pedantic people.
Ed,
I don't know how else to fucking say it.
I am an individual. I would appreciate it if you called me Gray. Okay,
you are not you people. You are Gray. You are pedantic. And then Patrick also says something pedantic. That's two people. That's called plural. So I use the pluralized version of that word. Homie, it's called conversation. Please, like, try to keep up here, all right? This isn't rocket science. But look, man, ultimately, it's not a mob because they didn't, it's not like all these people fucking, like, organized together to fucking, like, come after this person, like, as a whole thing. A person did a thing, and a lot of people reacted to it. All those people voiced their fucking things, and a couple of unhinged assholes of all those people took the extra step to make this person's living life a nightmare. I don't think that's fucking every single person does that just because of like human nature, dude. You know?
Okay, so would you give the same difference to like a mob? So we talked about the lynching. So it's just a couple of unhinged people who actually put the rope around the neck. So is that then okay? That's just, you know, it's going to happen. They're just unhinged people. I would say that's mob mentality. It is really horrible.
Mob mentality exists. Mob mentality exists.
Yeah,
I agree.
It does.
I'm not here to tell you that mobs don't exist, bro. But what I'm saying is that if 100 people, right, all like hear something. Well, let's put it this way. Let's say you're walking out in public and one person says something hella out of pocket and everybody around them says, hey, you're a fucking asshole. Is that a mob?
I mean, you said everybody says, I don't know. Like, it kind of depends.
I mean, okay.
Because I mean, like
how whatever you think, everyone, dude.
So if I'm just supposed to do the generalization, I would say no, but there are some details that would make that a yes. It kind of depends on what happened.
Dude, you did this shit with Bob yesterday where like I gave you a thing and then you're like, well, if you were talking about something else, we'd be talking about something else. Yes, Gray. If you talk about things that are not something that I said, we're talking about a different conversation. Congratulations.
Well, if you keep it extremely vague, there are other, you know, factors that could actually change.
But I wasn't being vague, dude. Nobody's gonna say I was being vague but you, dog. And that's fine. That's what I love about you, dude. You're just showing everybody what these things are. But look, bro, as far as the mob thing, so we both agree that that if 100 people, let's just say this person says something and everybody within earshot turns around and says, hey, that's fucked up, you shouldn't have done that, is that a mob?
So no,
okay,
that would just be people talking. But if they then start to get that group mentality and actually decide, hey, we need to get some sort of justice or revenge, perceived justice out of this,
that would be
a mob. So that's what happened with Twitter. People did go after her employer, and then people did go after Twitter, and Twitter did go ahead and cancel all that stuff.
Okay, but here's what we're saying. What she did is that she said something, and a bunch of people on Twitter heard what she said and said, hey, fuck you, which is no different functionally than what we both agreed was not a mob. Now, yes, of course, if they start acting violently, collectively, yes, that is a mob, but that's not what I was talking about, right? And look, even within, right, hypothetically, in that situation where in public somebody says something, and like, let's just say there's 100 people there, right? Let's just say there's 100 people there, and they all start shouting, hey, that's fucked up, don't fucking do that. But then like 3 people start physically acting violently towards them, but it's just those 3, and like there's other people trying to, that are fucking leaving them alone or trying to stop them. Is that a fucking mob?
So no, that would be 3 people being assholes.
Right. So,
but again, if everybody is, hey, Ed, I let you finish. Okay. You went on for quite a bit there. Okay. But if the crowd is riling them up and they are actually making this happen, like it just keeps on being pile on, or they're cheering the people on, then yeah, it's not just 3 unhinged people. Now it is a mob. It can easily become that.
It can, but again, bro, like what ended up happening was a bunch of people. Let's just break it down, right? How these things work. She did a thing. Shit ton of people said, "Yo, that's fucked up," and an indeterminate amount of people that neither you or I know the numbers of those angry people did something unhinged. Am I correct?
So it really depends. So there's a bunch of different factors that could come into that. I wouldn't know if you're necessarily correct. So in this scenario, anyone in the crowd doing anything other?
Bro, neither you or, let's just agree here. Neither you or I know how many of all those pissed off people called Justine Sacco's boss and told her to fire her, right? Neither you or I know that.
So no, we don't know the exact number.
So you see what I mean? Like, to you, what qualifies them as a mob is just that it's a bunch of people who are angry at a person and expressing themselves.
So
that's not a mob then.
That's not true. So it depends. What were the people saying? Were the people calling for her job? Ed, hold on, buddy. Right. So were the people actually calling for her job? Even if they didn't call her employer, that would be piling on. That would be egging on the other ones. That does seem like mob-like behavior to me. So
when you're talking about Twitter, and when you're talking about hundreds,
so have you heard the term Twitter mob?
Yes, of course I've heard the term Twitter mob. Okay, but let's just be real
here.
So
do you think I made that up, or do you think that it has colloquial value? Like we all know that term.
Colloquial value, sure. I'm not pedantic.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about when there was a mob that ganged up on her and people went after her job.
But what I'm saying,
it seems like you're being super pedantic and you're saying that's not a mob because they don't have pitchforks.
Okay, I thought you were being more literal. That is pedantic of me. I apologize. But all right, bro. But if
I accept your apology. We're cool.
Okay. All right, but if we can both agree, right?
It was very big of you.
Right. Yeah. Well, if we can both agree, dude, if we can both agree on these very simple facts, right, that it is not a mob for a shit ton of people to, let me actually take a step further back, right? When you're talking about something that happens to that Justine Sacco chick, it didn't just stay on one social media site, right? It was on every social media site. Every news agency reported on it. It pissed off a good maybe 30% of the fucking country, right?
Yeah.
Just give it a rough
I wouldn't say like it was a good percentage because it's like, I don't know. Did you join in like condemning her? I didn't. But it was definitely a big pile on. Sci-Fi's Live has a question. It looks like it's for both of us. What do you qualify as a mob?
To me, a mob is whenever a group of people organize to try to harm someone.
Okay. I would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% organized. It seems like, people start getting into that groupthink and mob mentality. I'm sure you've been, like at a game or something, and you kind of get that whole like crowd going. I don't know how organized it needs to be, but it does seem to, you know, once it kind of gets to that group think and everyone's egging each other on, it seems to get kind of animalistic.
Okay, right. But listen,
I don't know that it. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just he was saying like, what do you qualify as a mob? So like, if we're talking colloquially, like the Twitter mob, I'd say, you know, if you've got hundreds of people all piling on, that would be a mob to me. In person, I don't know if I saw like 20 people kind of all coming after someone, I might colloquially call it a mob. I don't know if like it would technically legally be a mob or if it is a group of people coming at you. But, you know, it seems like it would be different online than in person. If it's like 5 people online, no. But 5 people coming at you, it could feel like it's a mob. But
well, I think one thing we can both agree on here. I think one thing we could both agree on is that there is a fine line. It's a very fine line between just a crowd and a mob, right?
For sure.
And
it seems to be when it makes that turn.
When it makes that turn, exactly, man. But listen, like a shit ton of fucking, let's just say 30% of the United States when that happened got pissed off. That's 100 million people.
Yeah, that's
right?
A lot of people.
That's 100 million.
It definitely
people.
Wasn't that.
So even if say 300 people called or did some other way out of pocket shit, like statistically speaking, relatively speaking, that's nothing new. Like you can go all the way back to history and see that kind of behavior. You know?
Okay, I mean, like murder's been around since, you know, animals were invented. Like, does that make it right?
I'm not saying it's right, bro. I'm saying that it's nothing new.
But you kind of just like played it off like, hey, you know, it's existed forever. Like it's gonna happen.
Right, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, bro. Like I'm not saying that it's. I'm not saying that
it seems to be implied with your like.
Let me. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not right. That's not a right thing to do. People act out of pocket. Humans are irrational, dude. Like what is the big drama here of human beings being human, acting as they have for hundreds of thousands of years? I mean, it's not right. It's not cool that happened. She did not deserve that, but it's literally nothing new, dude. So yeah, like this is a tired conversation. People should be nicer to each other. Yeah.
All right. I mean, so it seems like you've kind of come to agree that there are people who have been canceled.
Sure.
Okay. So that's what people mean by cancel culture. Like,
okay.
I don't think they're talking about Chappelle. He was able to come back. I don't think they're talking about Louis C.K. Those were attempted cancellations. Just like there's attempted murder. Those were not successful. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they weren't. I think both of those guys are funny as hell. Both are different. I definitely like Chappelle more than C.K.
They're both comedians, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like,
so if so,
I look at them as individuals,
so right? So if the best example we can come up for cancel culture is a private person, a private entity, and a couple of
I offered you 1,093 other people who have been canceled.
Okay,
for
all right,
fair
enough. All right, so we got that. We got Kathy Griffith who did something anti-Trump and got canceled, acted way out of pocket and shit like that. Like it seems to me,
it comes from both sides. I don't like when people get canceled. I think, you know, you have the right to not, you know, pay with your dollar. That's what I'm doing. If I'm not joining any mob saying, hey, you should be fired, you shouldn't have the ability to make money.
But if a majority of an audience refuses to continue supporting someone, that's not cancel culture. Can we agree to that?
Yeah. I would say, well, so if you're talking about like, the majority of somebody's fans like no longer support them because they don't like what they're doing.
I wouldn't even say
not.
the majority.
That's somebody
enough to bother them, enough to cry cancel culture, dude. Because honestly, that's what I see more and more, dude. It's just like comedians, and from my experiences, dude, from like back when I still like followed stand-up comedy actively, the reason I stopped was because I got sick and tired of hearing all these whiny ass people complaining about how they weren't getting like the same numbers, or complaining about how like, the
one
college,
of them other than saying all.
Oh, let's just go with Jerry Seinfeld, dude. Like his whole complaining about how like, like college kids, they, you know, you can't talk to them the way they used to and shit, right?
Okay.
Like,
and it does seem like that is a thing. Trigger warnings are now a thing, and people seem to get offended way more than they used to. That's why this FIRE database that I wanted to show you, it has 1,093 people who have been canceled, and it is mostly
according to their standards. Yes,
it's scholars under fire. Yeah.
Scholars who themselves were by their own perception, they consider themselves canceled, so they are not so they have a bias here in this, like, inherently.
So if
Oh,
you get canceled, you can't be on a list because you're biased that you would be, hey, I've been canceled. That doesn't make any sense, Ed.
okay,
Like,
so let me go ahead and break it down like I'm talking to a 5-year-old, right? So let's put it this way. If a person suffers from something, right?
uh-huh. And do you think
They
that
might-
the
hold on,
person
hold
who
on,
suffered
hold
is the
on,
one
hold on.
making this list?
I'm
Or
not
do you
done
think
yet.
there's a standard that this organization has
What I'm saying
to be
is,
included on this
what
list?
I'm
No,
saying
let me
is
break
that-
it down to you like you're a 5-year-old.
Okay.
So this is a
Hold on.
group. They are called the Foundation for Individual Rights. I can't remember what E stands for. It used to be in education. I think they just changed it. I really should Google it. But they have criteria for what constitutes a free speech issue on which somebody was canceled or fired.
which they
So-
set themselves after they got canceled
No,
and fired by their
The
own.
organization sets the standard for
The
including it
organization
on
that
this.
is ran
You
by these
seem to
individuals.
act. Hold on, Ed. So why you got real shitty with me there and saying that you're going to say it like you're talking to a 5-year-old when you were actually saying that, yeah, of course these people would think they got fired. Yeah, no shit. The list isn't by these people. It's not self-reports. They would actually have to show evidence to the fire organization. They would have to meet their criteria. Then they would be included on there. Okay. Does
So
that
an
make sense to you
organization-
now?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
this person,
So let's break it down further, right? An
Oh, okay.
organization is just a group of people. Okay, we got that. An organization is a group of people. If a bunch of people create an organization, and the one thing they all have in common is they've all been affected this one thing, then I think it's very reasonable to come to an understanding.
yeah,
that maybe
that would
all
make
these-
sense if this organization was just a collection of people that were fired. That's not what it is. It's
Okay.
a bunch of free
Well,
speech
no, I
lawyers
didn't say that.
who
I
have
said-
gotten together to
Yeah.
represent these people and take on their, claims.
who consider themselves who were consider themselves victims of
They're
cancel,
a lot.
right?
No. They're a lot like the ACLU.
Okay.
They are 100% for free speech. So no, this isn't just a collection of people that have been canceled.
Wait, but
they
how
have
can
a
they be 100%
list.
free speech if they're not even talking about a free speech issue? I mean, we both agreed that we both agreed
Every
that
one
you
of
know,
these is a free speech issue.
No, it's not.
A
because
lot
unless
of these
it's the
schools
government-
get money from the government. So, and they have mandates that they need to actually fulfill to the government. So
Okay.
this is a free speech issue. That's why every one of these is on that fucking list, man.
Hey, look, all those things are up for debate, bro. Like, I frankly,
It's
I
not though.
cannot-
These
I
are
cannot-
facts. Just
no,
because
it is-
you're
it
not
is up
aware
for
of them
debate. It
doesn't
is
mean
up
it's
for
up for
debate.
debate.
listen, it is up for debate because ultimately this is the work of people, of just a group of people that can be questioned.
So
They're not
you're going to
God.
be solipsistic
They aren't-
on everything
they aren't-
because
they aren't
people, the
fucking God.
human, was involved. So there could be error.
All human endeavors are subject to human folly.
You're
Am I
right.
wrong?
Everything, nothing is reliable. Nothing
I'm not
makes sense.
saying.
You're
I'm not
right.
saying.
You're
no.
right, Ed. No, you
see
won.
this,
You got
get
this.
This pedantic shit, bro. Listen, I never said that. I am not some fucking crazy right wing guy who thinks nothing and nobody can be trusted except for their own like whatever quote unquote common sense and shit, bro. I'm not that fucking guy. It's a case by case thing. I think
No, you
the
seem to
last-
be saying
no,
even
no,
your
no,
common sense wouldn't work because you're human, and humans have
Yes.
errors. So
Uh-huh.
again, everything could just facts don't matter. Nothing matters.
I'm not the one saying that, bro. You're the one who's trying
It
to put that
sounds
into
like
that-
you're saying that, Ed.
But it sounds like it
So-
to you because you seem to have a certain fucking perspective here. Not can I clear? Can
It's
I
not
clarify
just to
myself?
me, buddy. Like,
Can I clarify?
here's what the comments are
can I
saying.
clarify myself. Yeah, fine. Let the comments say what they're gonna say. I can give a fuck less, dog. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking
Okay.
to you. All right. And look,
Yeah.
we on those school. Yeah, sure. The issues that are school within those. Okay, I'll give you that. Those specific cases when it's like a school and it is a government body, that is arguably a free speech issue. But unless every single one of those cases on that list is specifically a government entity, one way or another, it's not an entirely free speech issue thing. These people, and again, the reason why I'm saying this,
Every one of these cases
listen.
qualifies for it.
Let me just clarify here. I'm not saying fire shouldn't be trusted because they're flawed human beings. I'm not saying that. I put faith in science. I put faith in expertise. I am a welder, right? Like I expect people to put faith in me and shit, So like let's not pretend that it's about that, because it's not, bro. You see, like, you did this shit with Bob yesterday too, where you just had to like reframe everything to pretend you had a point. But listen, when it comes down to it here, dude, I don't think
There was
either
only one
either
person
you or I
reframing and pivoting. in that
disagree
one.
that people that have been affected by a certain. I mean, listen, this is why people who were like the parent of a murdered child can't be a judge, right? Because we as a society understand that they
Why
cannot be
couldn't the
impartial.
parent of a murdered child be a judge? Like in that trial?
because
No, I mean, like, why
No,
couldn't
listen,
they?
what I'm
Like, so if
saying
somebody
is
has their child murdered, they
because
can never be a judge.
no,
Like, they need
because
to immediately, like, you know, turn in their bar. I don't understand what you're saying, man.
okay, so
Can
let
you
me break
explain that?
let me break it down like you're five. So
Thank you.
in
Expression.
America, in America, the role of the judge is to be impartial. So if the judge is directly affected by the crime that is at hand, and like for example, if somebody kills a kid, the father of that kid, by constitutional law, cannot be the judge on that case because they're not impartial. It's about impartiality, bro.
So that's what I asked you.
speak
Like,
for
yeah,
me.
if it's their kid and it's that case, yes, they could not be impartial.
Okay, and that's all
The
I'm
way that
talking
you
about. There is
the way
nothing
that you
else
said it
I'm talking about.
before sounded like if somebody's had their kid murdered, they can't be a judge anymore. It's like
I can't help if
what?
you're insane, dude. I can't help
Dude,
it that
that's
you're
what
insane.
you
All
said.
right, but like
All right. The
that
way
is
that
what
you
I said, but
talk
that's
leads to. All right.
no, bro. Hey, listen, I'm sorry, dog. That is an insane take. That is a weird place to take it because I was being very specific. We were talking about bias. How you went from us talking about bias, which imparts which takes place with impartiality. How you jump to that, bro? I'm sorry. You got some fucking screws loose there. Impartiality and bias are inherently tied, bro. So maybe I think I'm doing okay.
Partiality and bias are inherently tied.
I think I'm doing okay, bro. All I'm speaking
Okay.
for is that, like, maybe we shouldn't trust people who have been affected by this thing to report on this thing. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
So that's not what happened. So it's really fun that you've gone down like 10 different tracks of how you're going to somehow invalidate this database. Hey, Ed, I let you talk. I let you talk. You got to let me talk. Hey, we're taking turns here, buddy.
Right, but you put words in my mouth, so I'm going to clarify. I just want to clarify to make sure that everything is being understood here, right? All I'm saying, dude, there is nothing else that I'm trying to say besides this. So if you misunderstand this, it's on you at this point. Okay?
It's really not. Communication is a two-way street.
All I'm saying is what I understand what happened is that a bunch of people who've been affected by a phenomenon took it upon themselves with, you know, all their biases and all their experiences taken with them to create this organization that you are taking as like gospel truth or something.
Okay, so would a witness never, or, you know, a victim of a crime, they can't testify in their own case because they're not impartial. So they could still present their evidence or what evidence they have to a detective. Then that detective would then hand it to the attorney. They would then build a case. Guess what? They've got a bunch of people who research every case. Fire. They're an amazing organization.
Hey man, listen. All I'm saying is, this is more.
No, what are you saying? You're saying that.
All I'm saying is you're a mark. This is more evidence that you're a mark because, bro,
I'm a mark. So you're trying to invalidate an organization because they listen to people who have been canceled, and they shouldn't do that. Even though you don't know what their criteria is for
when did I
any of
say
this.
that? When did I fucking
Literally,
say that?
you've tried to bring that up like 5 times. Like,
Okay.
yeah, well, it's a group of people who have been canceled.
Okay,
So,
so then clearly
Ed,
you're either.
did
so
you
you're
try
either-
to bring up the fact that this is now a group of people that are canceled? Of course, they're not impartial to it. Did
That's
you
what I'm
not
saying.
then? Yeah, that's really stupid. So this is a group of lawyers mainly and free speech activists who collect these stories, okay? It's not a bunch of people who have been canceled. They actually look into the case. A lot of the times, they represent them. They fight them.
Dude, I don't care.
Company
I really don't care. It
the
doesn't
school
matter.
that fired them. They try to get justice,
Listen,
okay?
that's I'm here to. Okay, bro. Listen, I'm not here to fucking dictate the.
No, but you're making really weird,
All I'm
spurious
saying-
claims, trying to invalidate this organization that you know nothing about. Would I try to tell you what exactly happened and what is going on with this organization? You try to pivot away like, hey, I didn't say that. Yeah, you fucking did, man. You tried to invalidate this. So again, these are people who have been canceled. There's a lot of people that have been canceled. It is disingenuous to say that cancel culture doesn't exist.
We already agreed to that.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm saying is maybe okay, bro. Look, I really don't know if this is like if we're just gonna go back and forth on this, dog. But
Okay.
if
Hey, you
you
mentioned something about race. Did you want to talk
yeah, we'll
about
get
that
to that.
then?
But what I'm saying is this, bro. If you want to trust biased people, that's
So
fine.
how is the organization biased
It
other
was it was
than
it was
they?
it was founded by people who consider themselves part a victim of cancel culture, right?
No, you made that up. I tried to correct you. No, that's not who founded this organization. I've told you that like 5 times.
All right, bro.
You
Look,
have
honestly,
spuriously made that claim, and you tried to invalidate them because of that. I then corrected you. No, that is not
okay.
who
All right,
has
fine.
done this. This isn't
Okay.
like this
Dude,
isn't
this is such
like
a boring
some
conversation.
sort of like class action suit.
It's not, so it's weird. Yeah, okay, it's not 100%. Okay, so you want to
Okay.
talk about race?
You mentioned it.
Yeah, 100%.
We were supposed to talk
100%.
about free speech and comedy, but yeah, let's talk about race, man.
Yeah, cool. Let's just end it here, dog. Yeah, let's talk about race, bro, because you said something that I hear a lot of people say, which is very interesting. Because you said that racism is evil, all right?
I did not. I don't believe in evil.
So you don't believe in evil?
No.
Okay, so what is racism?
Well, it appears to be when people, they treat people who are different than them differently. They tend to group them based off of some sort of group thing. You were talking about racism, so generally it's that. And then they generally treat them differently. It doesn't necessarily need the superiority, but yeah, it's basically like tribalism, but very much race-based. That's what it seems to be to me.
Sure.
But I don't know that it's necessarily evil. Like, you can kind of look at evolutionary psychology and you can understand why people are tribalistic and why that might be one group that people tend towards.
Sure.
I think it's wrong, but I don't know. I don't necessarily go with the whole good and evil thing.
Right. Well, I mean, I bring it up for a very specific reason, dude, because you were doing the whole pedantic dance with Bob yesterday about like this sort of issue and shit. And to me, right, like the framing of race as being this evil thing, I don't know, bro. Like
What do you
it
mean
just
race is evil? I literally just told you I don't believe.
right. That's
evil.
what I was getting to, bro. So like, yeah, if that's not what you believe, and you believe that, I mean, cool. Like, do you have any examples of something that you would consider racist?
Well, yeah. I mean, like if somebody calls somebody,
something that you've seen specific to your life.
I mean, yeah, like if I see a dude call someone the N-word, if I see somebody literally treat somebody differently because of the color of their skin, any of that I would consider racism. Right. Why? What would you consider racism, Ed?
From what racism, honestly, not anything different than you, dude. From what I remember specifically, like maybe I could have been wrong, could have mixed you up with another debate, but
if they were bringing up evil, that totally is, because trust me, man, that word is not really in my vocabulary.
Racism or evil?
No, evil.
Okay. Hey, honestly, bro,
I believe racism exists. I don't believe necessarily that there is this thing that's evil.
Okay. Like honestly, bro,
I mean, there's definitely wrong and like serious bad shit that people do. Like, I'm not saying murder is correct or anything like that, but yeah, man, I don't know.
No, hey, honestly, bro, that might have been on me. I might have just got you mixed up with someone else. All right, never mind. That's it for me, dude. Honestly, I mean, unless there's anything else you want to iterate on, or
well, yeah. I mean, I did have a couple of questions for you. So, what is this whole like? I don't know. So, what was your contention with me? Like, literally. So,
yeah.
Hold on. Can I get a little bit more specific with it, and then I'd love to hear you out. So it sounded. So my conversation with Bob, I was trying to understand his standard, because it seems like if you're just going to go off this pattern thing, you could literally label anything a pattern. And the way that Dane was doing it, he literally has a quote that says, well, you see, any individual incident can be explained away. So what you need to do is you need to take a look at the bigger picture, the vibe. That seems really horrible to me. That seems like it's a way to condemn anybody.
No, he's actually totally right. No, he's actually totally right about that.
Okay, look, can you tell me the benefit from using that as opposed to using actual evidence?
Yeah, 100%, bro. I mean, because look, I'll tell you right now, this kind of conversation where like we try to try to make sense of what is and isn't racist. Like, I've never had that conversation, with another person of color, like ever, you know. And I think that's something that is exclusive within white people, because I think for white people, it's a
Is
real
it intrinsic to white people?
No, well, I mean, intrinsic
That seems
is
a
sort of
little
a loaded
racist,
word.
man. To
No, no, no,
say
no, no,
that,
no.
like, it's, I don't know.
Well, what was I saying? What did you think I was going to say?
Well, it seems like you're saying that there's this quality that only white people have.
Uh-huh.
That seems a little fucked up, man.
Wait, what? So I can't point out like a pattern that I've seen from white people in my life that you're doing right
I
now?
never said you couldn't point out a pattern. I said that seems a little fucked up to say,
Okay, well,
hey,
let's
all these people of this skin color
yeah.
have this trait.
Okay, all right, bro. Yeah, and you see, this is what I love. That this is
Okay.
exactly the kind of shit that I love, because like it kind of goes
Well-
to show my overall point that I'll work up to here, buddy. But let's just kind of start slow here a little bit.
Okay.
Like, the thing is, I can't fucking iterate if someone is racist. I can't sit there and ask myself, is this racist? Is that racist? Like, I can't. Because I am a Mexican, because there is racism that affects me both on a personal and institutional level. I need to be able to, like, the way I describe it is that, like, racism has a stench. It has a vibe. Dane is totally right.
it's a
Racism and
feeling.
racist people, yes, they have a certain attitude about them. They have a certain way they talk. They have a certain way they carry themselves, bro. Believe it or not, I know this is going to blow a lot of white people away, but racist people often don't come up to you and tell you they're racist. That basically never fucking happens. The racism
No,
it's in their
what
attitude.
you can tell from their actions.
Exactly, bro. By their vibes.
No, a vibe is not an action. A vibe is a feeling, man. If you're
That's
going off of
people's actions.
feelings,
Yes,
well,
it's because of
hey,
people's actions
can you
and
tell
from
me
their
what the
words.
difference is when you are correct or when you're incorrect, but you don't know it? What is the difference in that feeling? Could you
It
not
doesn't-
have that same exact feeling? That's why feelings don't.
But you see, this
they're
is what I
not
mean.
a justice.
You can do that. You can do that because you're white. You can fucking ask yourself that question.
So wait, I can do
Oh, hold on,
something
let me
because I'm
finish.
white.
Let me stop. Let me finish. Let me stop. Stop. Let
So
me,
this is a privilege
finish
thing
talking.
that you're going to say? All right.
what
go
what I'm
ahead.
saying is, you're white. You can stop and ask yourself that. You can stop and ask yourself that, because even the most fucking harsh racist person towards you could only fucking hurt you as an individual, right? Let's. I mean, and
I've been
right. Look, do you remember the Karen thing?
Which one?
When a bunch of, well, you know where the word Karen came from, right? The meme, all that.
Yeah, but you
Where'd it
said
come
you
from?
remember the Karen thing. So
Yeah.
which one are you talking about?
Well, generally speaking, what was the Karen thing about?
Why don't you tell me? You're trying to lead me down some path. I'm not quite sure which incident you're
Dude,
talking about.
You see,
There have been
no,
a
I
bunch
think-
of
no, I mean, you're
no.
right.
There's
I
been a
am trying
bunch
to
of
be-
incidents like the barbecue Becky one. I don't know what the original one was. I believe it was after the barbecue Becky thing where people started saying Karen all the time.
But it
But
wasn't
I
just
don't
Barbecue
remember.
Becky, and it just wasn't barbecue Becky, was it? It was
No,
a
no,
bunch
but
of,
I remember, like, I don't think that Karen was as common until after that. So
right. But
do
it
you
wasn't
remember
just-
the
but-
exact
but
one?
Everybody called it.
Are you
barbecue
asking for
Becky.
like an
The
exact
term-
one, or do you mean like the movie?
No, I literally asked you. Generally speaking, what was the Karen term about? How did it come about to be? How did it become a force?
But you
How did it
didn't
become
ask me that. You said, do you remember what happened? You basically asked me about an incident. So if you're just talking about like
No,
what
I
does
didn't.
that
I didn't. I
term
didn't.
mean?
Okay, look, bro. I'll just answer for you, because I can tell you're a little freaked out because you don't know where I'm going and how this might paint you. So I'm just gonna go ahead.
No,
Make
you're
it
just
really easy for you, bro. It's
you're
not
talking
that
really
hard.
vain.
It is not. I asked you a question, dog. You're the one who could talk.
No,
naked
it's
fun.
very
Look,
vague,
It's not
man.
that hard. It's not that hard, dog. The Karen situation, the whole meme happened because a bunch of white people were calling the cops on black people for, pool parties, stuff like
When
that.
you say a
Ridiculous
bunch,
nonsense.
How many? So like, is it a mob of white people that were doing this?
I didn't. Okay, we're not going to have that conversation because that's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm telling you is, you do remember a series of videos where a bunch of white women were calling the cops on black people, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that
know
was
a
where the
bunch
Karen
of
thing came from. Yes, that's where the Karen thing came from, right? So why? So the fact that you know where the Karen thing came from and how it comes from means that you do understand that ultimately
okay.
racism towards black people and racism towards white people are very different things. Because if a black person were to call you and try to pull a Karen on you, what's gonna happen to you? A cop is gonna come up to you and like tell you, "Well, this shit's fucking whack," right? But with a black person, it's a 50-50 chance that cop is gonna go up and shoot that black person.
It's a 50-50 chance that any
100%.
black person has an interaction with a cop, they're going to be shot. That is fucking stupid, Ed. Like, I have literally never heard anything so dumb as that. How many black people do you think were shot by cops last year?
Okay.
How many incidents do
No.
you think people had with cops last year? No,
Listen,
that was
I'm not-
really dumb. You actually got specific, and it was the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Okay, but if you want to have that conversation, we'll have that conversation. But ultimately, can we both agree that in a situation where someone pulls a Karen on a white person compared to someone pulls a Karen on a black person, that the
What do you
black
mean
person
pulls
is
a
more
Karen?
likely?
So Karen has
You
a
guys see this shit,
connotation.
right? You guys see
No,
this
no.
fucking pedantic bullshit? We both just agreed where the Karen thing came from, and yet he still wants to
Now you're
reiterate.
saying that you're pulling a
doesn't wanna
Karen
have
on
this
somebody.
conversation. You don't
So
wanna have
I'm
this
asking what
conversation
that
with you.
means to get more specific so that we're
It
on the
means
same
exactly
page.
what it meant 5 minutes ago, dude. It meant exactly what it meant 5 minutes ago. And if you can't keep up, dude, maybe go talk to a therapist and clear that little head of yours, dog, because I'm not fucking speaking unclearly here. I meant it exactly the same way I meant it the last time we talked about it, okay?
Okay,
look,
so I've
look,
never
hold
heard
on,
somebody
hold on.
say they're pulling a Karen on somebody. So does that mean that, like, a white guy is selling lemonade and some black person like called the cops on them? Is that pulling a Karen on them? I need to
bro.
know what you mean by it.
All right, so
That's why I'm asking for clarification. But apparently to you, anything other than, generalization is pedantic. So, okay, they're committing a Karen.
I love that you're
Okay.
trying, dog. I love
Keep-
how hard you're trying.
Keep
right now.
laying down the trap, buddy. Keep going.
There is no trap to lay down, but the fact that you
Okay.
think there is interesting, right? Because I really do
Is it?
just want to have an honest conversation with you here. But
I'm
you're
trying
being
to as well.
defensive. You're being so defensive by being pedantic that you're not letting it happen. To me, it seems like you're
Okay.
afraid to actually have this.
You're being
conversation.
very insulting and
Oh,
condescending.
okay, all right, fair enough. But okay, let's put it this way: the reason why I bring up the black people getting
Enjoy my
shot
tiny
stuff
cup.
like that is not to fucking. If you want to have that conversation, we can have that conversation, bro. But the main reason why I bring it up is because, statistically speaking, black people are more likely to get shot in a police interaction than white people. That's why Karens called the cops, dog, because they know that if they called the cops, then they're gonna have institutional power behind them. That's the entire reason they called them. If we can both agree
So
that Karen
calling the cops
on,
should be because there is actually an incident that requires some sort of emergency intervention.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, so by definition, when you're saying like somebody's committing a Karen on somebody, it seems to have the connotation that there isn't an emergency situation. So it seems to be fucked up.
Is it a bunch of is a black family having a birthday party a criminal situation?
So no, like I just
So,
said, that seems to have the connotation to it that it's.
is a black kid at a pool. Is that a criminal situation?
Do you think that between those two, since you've noticed two of them, do you think that one of those two got shot by the cops? Because you said it's a 50-50
No, they didn't.
shot
They
whether a
didn't.
black
No, they
person
didn't.
gets shot by the cops.
No,
Oh,
but they weren't
so
the
then
only
it
black
seems to be
people who
less
got
than
shot, bro.
50-50
Okay,
now, right?
Do you believe those are the only two black people who got shot, or do you just not know how statistics work?
So
Because-
now they got
Because when I
shot.
say
Ed,
50%,
you just switched from
no,
saying
no,
they
hold
didn't get
on,
shot
hold
to
on.
now they're
Wait
the
a
only
minute,
two that
wait a
did
minute,
get
hold
shot.
on, wait, I didn't know, bro. This is bad. This is bad for you, dude.
I agree.
If you
No.
genuinely think that only two black people,
No, Ed, I literally just said
Well, I
the
mean, dude,
words
you
that you
literally
said
yourself
back
said-
to you.
you literally yourself said, well, these two black people didn't get shot, so how could you say it's 50%?
Ed, I
bro?
was
When
mocking
talk
you
about
with
statistics,
what
you're
you
not
just
talking-
said.
You do understand that when people talk statistics like that, they're talking about
No, I
general-
understand that when people talk
like,
statistics
for
like that, they're
society.
talking
So
out of
why
their
you fucking
ass.
talking
When
like
you
a
say that
jackass, dog?
50%,
Wait,
it's a 50-50
wait.
shot whether you're
I'm
going to die or
talking-
not.
No, bro. You see, you're trying so hard to like fucking save your face here, dude. But honestly, what you just did was fucking retarded, and it goes to show like your mentality, dude.
That's an
because,
ableist
like,
slur, Ed.
yeah,
I know
okay,
you like
I
the
should've
slurs,
understood
man,
that,
but
bro,
come on, let's stay away
no,
from
but
this.
bro, like, listen, like the fact that you even have to contort this shit, bro, to pretend to have a point is hilarious. But look, all I'm saying is the fact that we both agree on the whole Kate thing means we both understand the power of institutional racism. Now,
No.
hold
So,
on, let me get
can
back
you
to-
actually
let me-
define what the power of institutional racism is? So, I don't agree with you. You're saying we
Okay,
both
okay,
agree.
tell you what,
You
tell you what,
haven't
let me finish-
put, you've
Let me
put
finish-
no
let me finish what
evidence
I'm gonna
out.
say. Let me finish what I'm going to say. And then if you want clarification, I'll be happy to provide it. Okay? Let me finish talking. Now, the fact that we both understand the Karen meme, where it came from, means that we both understand how institutional racism and personal racism works, right? The reason why
No.
race as a topic is different between white people and black people is because you, as a white guy, if you were to meet the biggest fucking racist against white people, that person could harm you potentially, and that sucks, and that's not cool, right? But if any other person of color, but mainly black people, if that were to be them in that situation, not only is that person a threat to them, but any institutional power that they call upon is going to be brought in too. So that's why, dude, that's why the discussion of race is different for me and you, and that's why you can fucking iterate and ask yourself, is this racist or is that racist, and why I can't. There is
you can't ask that. You've got to just assume it because you have.
Well, what do you? Whoa, hold on. What do you
No.
think? How do you think I act in those situations? I'm curious.
Well, what situations?
In situations
when someone calls the cops on you when you're in a pool, like I think you'd be outraged in that situation.
In a situation where I think I'm amongst a bunch of racist people, how do you think I act, dude?
I'm guessing it's not pleasant, and you're probably like looking over your shoulder. How do you think I would act when I'm standing around a bunch of racists? Do you think that I'm like just comfortable and it's like just the water in which we swim?
What I'm saying
no,
is
man.
right.
Like I would still have head on a swivel. I wouldn't trust somebody who hates people because of the color of their skin.
Right, exactly, dude. But like, look, all I'm saying is that this whole iteration of what's racist and what's not is something that only you can do because there is no institutional threat. The worst thing that could happen to you is another racist person. Worst thing that could happen to a black person is a racist person then calling the cops. You see what I mean? So
no, I don't, because you're not actually putting any sort of evidence there. I let you go on for quite a while. So you seem to keep stating that somehow they're going to die if the cops are called on them, and I couldn't get the cops called on me. I've had plenty of really shitty, unfair interactions with cops, man. I don't have that one category where I could say, hey, it's because of my race. I think it's because a lot of cops are assholes. They have to deal with some really tough situations. And, I don't think everyone's cut out for that. I don't know that every incident where somebody claims that has to be racist when it could just be somebody having a bad day. I don't know that I can follow you there. Now, I do believe.
Okay, go ahead.
I do believe there are racist people out there, but you would be mind reading to say, hey, this just happened because of the color of my skin, when you don't necessarily know that.
And you can do that. You can do that, bro, because the chances of racism
you could do that too.
No,
instead of just assuming that it's because of the color of your skin.
Hey, bro, I don't fucking go around thinking everything that is done to me is done by the color of my skin, but there have definitely been
times to be what you implied, that I somehow have a different option where, I might get physically harmed, but no cops would be called on me.
All I'm saying, the only reason why I just want to take a pause here, and I want to talk to the audience for a minute here. Now, I'm glad that Gray is doing this, right? Because I think this is a very interesting phenomenon amongst people who present themselves to be centrists and stuff like that. And then that's to divorce this conversation from any social context, from any historical context, or from any real world context. Listen,
you're not putting any historical context to it either.
I live in the same planet you do, dude. I live in the same fucking country. All right.
Yes. Somehow you living in the same country means that you've provided some sort of evidence.
What I'm saying is, just because you're trying to speak about these issues as if they were in a vacuum, devoid of any history, devoid of any social context, bro.
So, no, what you're trying to do is standpoint epistemology, that because I am not the same color as you, I haven't walked in your shoes, I couldn't possibly understand, or I shouldn't be in this conversation.
I never said that. I never said that, bro. I never said that.
Okay, well, you kept talking about white people do this. Right. This is what... You mentioned that it's only white people that have this conversation.
Yes, it is only white people that have this conversation because you're the only people that can afford to. Look, what I'm getting at is here, bro. I think, well, let's put it this way. I don't think you're a racist, Ray. You don't have
this. That's very big of you.
You don't have this thing. Okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute. You don't have the stench on you, dude. You don't have that vibe. I have no reason to think that you are a racist. Okay.
Cool.
But do you think that, does that mean that doesn't necessarily mean that you have not done racist things? Am I right?
I don't know what you mean by racist things.
What I'm saying is, right, for all I know, you can
So because you don't know, you're going to say that I've done racist things?
No, what I'm saying is this. When people try to simplify race, right? Or issues
try to simplify.
Race,
what do you mean by simplify race?
simplify race, or I'm sorry, try to talk about these issues, these race and these racial issues, with, like in a vacuum without any context.
What do you mean
It
by
seems
in a
to me
vacuum without context? I'm trying to provide it, but
ignoring
every
recent
single time you
history.
keep
Bro,
trying to go back to like the
listen,
general.
listen. If you were not in the United States, I would understand why you would need the evidence that this is happening. But we both live in the same country, dude. And I'm sorry that you think being pedantic is like a great move. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not paying attention to how the world works, because I actually have a point to make, unlike you, dude. And it's very simple here, dude. Is that like what you're doing is even a symptom of it, right? What you're doing is even a symptom of it, because essentially, when people frame things and like I am or am not a racist, it shuts off.
How have I ever framed that?
Let me get there. It shuts off that part of their brain that's critical. They say, I'm not a racist. Therefore, nothing I do or say can be racist, can be considered racist, or anything like that. You know? And I think, and to me, that's a stupid way of viewing it for anybody, right? Because
I
because
agree. That seems like a straw man position that nobody actually has.
right, exactly.
Of course, anybody could have a racist action.
Right, exactly. So I think it's more important to have the conversation where it's like, is a person racist, a person not? Hey, I'll tell you right now, for my entire life, it's been very rare that I've met like a hateful racist person twice in my life. I can tell you that I've met a truly awful racist person, but I don't know a single fucking person who hasn't done or said a fucking racist fucking thing. You know what I mean? And like, to me, like, I think that's the better conversation to be had when it comes to the topic of race. It's not so much about our personalities. It's about our biases, our actions, and our attitudes. You see what I mean? And I think a part of that, bro, is definitely being honest about the conversation.
So that's
around
implying
race.
that I'm not being honest.
I mean,
which
you're over here.
is really shitty. How am I
no,
not
you're not
being honest?
bro, because
How?
you live in the same country as me. You've seen all Breonna Taylor, all these fucking black people who have been killed by cops for almost always not doing anything wrong. And I mean, listen.
Okay, so you're saying all these people again. So you mentioned one case, Breonna Taylor, which everybody says that was a really messed
Sarah
up
Bland?
situation. Okay,
Is that another one?
that one
hold on.
that one isn't as messed up. We need to actually go into the details on it.
You see this shit? Like,
isn't it Sandra Bland, not Sarah Bland?
One of those two, yeah. But I think it's interesting that you think
So
that's
there is actually context where that's not the same thing.
that's interesting. Okay. What is she? I'm sorry. Let's.
So are you familiar with that situation? Can you describe what happened to Sandra Bland?
Let's just make sure we're talking about the same person.
Okay.
I'm talking about the woman who was in the car with her boyfriend, who had a gun, and who told the cop he had a gun. The cop told him to get the gun out, and as he was reaching for the gun, the cop killed Sarah Bland and him.
So that's not Sandra Bland at
Okay,
all.
what was her again?
She was the one who was found hanged in a jail cell. It's completely different.
Oh, fuck,
That's not
yeah.
a bad shoot. That's why I was saying, hold on, are we talking about the same person? But I feel like you just got really condescending on me there when I was literally trying to figure out, hey, is this the same case? Because I don't think that's what you're talking
that
about.
was shitting on me. That was shitting me. I apologize.
Okay.
Okay. All right, man. So, anything else you want to go over? You said you had a couple more questions for me.
Really, it was about like a bunch of the free speech stuff and kind of your comments that you made on that last video. But I don't know, man. At this point, I think you're just going to call it pedantic to try and find out, like, hey, what did you mean by this? But
Well, I mean, listen, bro, I'm happy to answer that question, but there comes a point where you're just talking about semantics and pedantry, dude. Like, what I would really recommend for you, dude, is like,
oh yeah,
listen,
no,
look,
I would love to get some life lessons from
Yeah,
you.
dude,
Well,
it's-
what would you recommend? How do I be more like Ed?
well, okay, I don't want.
Let's
first
do
of all-
this.
Okay, first of all, I don't think anybody. I'm not saying anybody should be like me. First of all, second of all, dude, like, I really would not want you to be part of the problem, bro. Like, to me, life is a party, man. Life is a party. All right. And
Okay.
everybody has like a standing invitation for it, right? But over time, if you don't change with the party, you're eventually gonna get kicked out. And I don't want that for you, bro. So, like, all I'm gonna say is that, like, if you're talking about these issues, right? Like, you could either be really productive about it and actually do something with it. Like I really feel like we didn't really accomplish much here, dude, because like
Yeah,
a
I
lot
don't
of
feel
people
like we did
are
either.
dealing with your semantics and frankly, dude, like if that's the only move you got, bro, like I don't know, maybe learn some maybe learn some actual like techniques, maybe like have some critical thinking or something about that. Because
So I
like
wasn't critically thinking because I'm trying to actually understand the details and get
well, I'm glad
into
you
the nitty gritty of it.
I'm
But
glad you
instead of
admit
that,
this
you
for
want to
critical
go,
thinking.
you want to zoom out. You don't want to look at the trees. You want to instead look at the forest and just trust feelings.
Well, because
Yeah, that
you
doesn't
want
sound like a good way to go through life, Ed.
bro, no, listen. It seems to me like you wanted to make sure that we stayed in the trees because you were going to lose the conversation about the forest, bro. Let's be real here.
I don't view this as like a battle, man. Like
It sure
it's
didn't
not
feel
that there's
it sure
I
did not
tried
come
to
off
be
that way, dog.
very charitable with you. I tried to find out what you were actually saying so that we're on the same page. You called that pedantic.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm sorry. Like I really hope that someday you just learn to like just have a regular conversation, and not just you, bro, but like I really hope anybody who finds what Gray did here something.
What do you mean what I did here? So like
Well,
I
this
tried to contact you. You came into my
argumentation,
comments,
yes, you had,
man,
bro.
and you were really
Yeah.
trashing comedy and you were saying that like, hey, telling edgy jokes isn't free speech. So
Well-
I said, hey, I really think you have a bad point here. Comedy is very subjective,
Which is
and
funny, it
just
shows how
because you think
pedantic
that
you are.
something's
It's
out of
funny, and
touch
it's
doesn't
funny.
mean it is.
And it shows how pedantic you are because like you focus so much on like me saying that like edgy jokes aren't free speech that you ignored the entire part of it where the exact point I was making that offensive humor is not the entirety of free speech. So let's fucking zoom out.
I never
beyond
said that it was the entirety of free speech either.
That I did say.
Nobody said that.
All this came from those exact words. Show how pedantic you are, dog. Hey man, being pedantic is not fun. Nobody likes
Yeah.
pedantic people, bro. And like
Okay.
seriously, dude, like I just hope he gets the perspective. I hope he gets
Well,
some real perspective.
maybe one day I'll be
How
like
to
you,
use
Ed.
free
Maybe,
speech.
people will start liking me. I'll just start talking in generalities and, maybe everything will just be better.
That worked
Hey,
out a
I
lot
do
better
have a
for you
couple
than
of
being
questions for you, man. So
Okay,
you
go for it.
mentioned that you're on the outs with, or you're not a part of the fandom initiative?
Yeah.
Did something happen or is
Not
it-
really, man. Ultimately, it just kind of came to a place where I wanted to operate in a way that didn't line up with how they wanted to operate. So we just kind of split. That was about it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get you to go into anything you don't want to or anything, but
There's
Could I
really
ask-
nothing. There's really nothing else to go into. I mean, like,
no.
we were talking about the show and certain stuff like that, and I was telling them some of my plans, and it was just like, that's going to get in the way of this. I said, you know what, that's fine. I don't want to step on your toes. Yeah, thanks for everything. I'll get some other time. You know what I mean?
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Can I ask you about one thing?
Sure.
So it seems like you kind of agree with their pattern of behavior tool that they're using.
I think everybody does. Yeah.
So I don't think that everybody necessarily does, but
I don't think you know
Fair
as many
enough.
people as I do.
okay. That's really childish, but okay. So you know more people, so apparently you're correct that people don't disagree with that. Cool. So anyway, what I was asking you about is that database that they are using to like keep tabs on people that you could randomly report people to. What's your feelings on that? Do you think that that's a good
Database?
tool to have? Yeah, like you can go through actual fandom site and like report incidents of, I don't know, basically like anti-fandom or chud-like behavior.
I mean, even if I mean, first of all, I never heard of that, but I mean, even if that's a thing, so what?
No, I was just wondering if you had an opinion on it.
No, not really, man.
All right, fair enough. Well, you mentioned that there were a couple other things. You mentioned there was the race thing, and then you said that there was something else. Was there
No, that's
anything else
pretty
you
much
wanted
it
to
for
talk
me,
about?
man. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, man, if you do want to have a discussion at some point in the future, I would totally be down. I do actually have a question for you.
Go for it.
So I noticed in your name it was pretty good at guitar. Out of curiosity, what kind of guitar do you play?
My main one is a Gretsch Streamliner, but I got a Tele Parchcaster, Jaguar, got a bass as well.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. What about you?
Really big fan. Kind of everything. I've got a couple of Fenders, then a lot of them that I just built myself.
All right, all
I
right.
basically did everything but the neck, so
Good
it was
shit.
really fun. Out of curiosity, what kind of music do you play?
I play mainly. Oh God, I don't know, man. My music's fucking weird. It's like a weird mix of like
Cool.
punk and synth pop. Like it's bizarre. Eddie Los Guardos. I'm on all the platforms if anybody wants to check it out.
Cool. I think I would actually like to check it out, man.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
All right.
All right, man. Well, I think this seems like a good place to end it. It feels like we're not totally at each other.
Okay.
I feel like, if there is something that we disagree about in the future, it would be cool to have a little bit more structured of a conversation.
I would be happy to have this again, bro. But like, I'll
Okay.
tell you, dude, this pedantic stuff. Like, I'm not. I'll give you this one. I'll give you this one, dude. But if the next one is just gonna be more of this, like,
So, Patrick keeps asking, can you define pedantic?
Yeah, dude, pedantic is when somebody essentially is being purposely obtuse to refocus the conversation away from the main point in order to like discuss the semantics of a situation.
Huh. Okay.
You know
We
that
have a
you know
different definition of pedantic.
you know that actually that meme
Yeah.
that's pedantic.
That doesn't seem like it implies that you're refocusing the conversation.
It is because it's distracting from the overall point. That's when somebody's being pedantic. When what they're trying to do is just be semantic to the point that it's distracting from the overall conversation. Myopic, pedantic, forest for the trees. It's all the same thing.
So it really isn't. It would be somebody who's more like focused on accurism.
To the point that it's obtuse. Yes.
Precision.
To the point that
So
it's
it doesn't have that extra part in there, but fair
Well,
enough. I think we just define it differently, but I did not know that
well,
you
I mean,
were
if
actually.
somebody's being like, yeah, there's being factual and there's being pedantic, dude. Like you're factual to a point where it starts to really get lost within syntax and semantics and all that shit, where it just loses track of the greater point. That's what being pedantic means.
All right. I will totally agree that that's what you're defining it as. I haven't heard it used in that way, but
Okay.
all right, we'll agree to disagree.
I didn't know it could be used in any other way, bro. But all right, man. Till next time.
All right, man.
Peace out.